everybody. Welcome to another episode of Law & Order, the show where an actual attorney and an actual layman, that's me, I'm the layman, talk about the political, judicial news of the day. We have a lot to talk about today. My co-host, as always, is the probably muted Ryan Mullally. How you doing today? You muted?
Nah, I'm just fucking with you, Rob. I had an epic session last night. I've been told that the muted mic is the whip song of my grift. Like I need to install a dono bar and just have the mic on mute until the grift is met. So yeah, we had some fun with that last night.
Don't do it when you're on with me. That would be awkward. I'll be like, Ryan, I can't hear you. What?
Well, I mean, Rob, I got a bone to pick with you. Last night, I raided over to you, and my understanding was that the raid was worth 2 whip songs, and you told me no whip songs for a raid. I feel like that.
I've never heard this. Rob? I don't know anything about this. Just people trying to scam me as always. My mental health is already declining with this song shit. So, but I will say at the beginning of my show, I started up and people were like, do you have Ryan's phone number? Can you call him? He's been muted for like 10 minutes. I was like, no shit. So I went over and there you are. I tried to type in the chat. Yeah.
It's so bad, man. It's so bad. It was really, I mean, then but it's kind of funny because like then I got the mute grift and then I got to do the same content again. So I don't know if it came out better the second time, but I got to answer all the questions. I've been told that's a wonderful dono. They're saying that we should do a grift off chair versus muted mic.
Oh, that's nice. I'd have to ask Chair, but I'm fine with it. Thank you.
I mean that's for the fans. That's a true fan comment right there.
Crow Crisis on your end, $5 already. And Old School on your own, $2 says we demand booba and cake.
I don't have the reference, but I mean I appreciate your demands.
Let's see. I would assume there must be some amazingly good-looking, talented, like police duo named Booba and Cake or something.
Booba and Cake.
Oh God.
Oh yeah. I will say after the last stream, I redid my mic so that the mute button's on the other side. I unscrewed it and set it up again.
I did some call with an organization the other day, and they used a platform I was unfamiliar with, and so I'm on it in the computer for the first time, and they can't hear me. And so I'm looking in the settings, and it's like, go to your computer settings. And I'm like 20 minutes, and here it was just, I hit that, and I didn't. And I'm like, how the fuck does this work? Like, do I have the right drivers installed?
Wipe the hard drive, yeah. We've all been there, but it's that was a pretty funny one.
All right, so we promise to read all Super Chats here at some point today. Now, to start with, we talk to each other. We're okay with bringing people on that disagree with us. And if it's just one person, they want it to be one-on-one, either of us will sit in the back and talk to the other. That's fine. Just moderate it. But I think that the theme today, really, when it comes at least to the Tyler Robinson case, is sort of coping. That we saw the evidence that we had last week, and I think that the people were sort of shell-shocked, in my opinion, that have pushed all sorts of definitive things, such as Tyler Robinson was never on campus, and this and that, and that Lance Twiggs was never interviewed by the police. And once all of that falls apart, now it's like they're trying to hang their hat on little things, and it seems that people don't want to talk to competent people that have been trying to look into this in a serious way. And so you're getting a bunch of people dodging or suggesting prompts that are abjectly ridiculous. And they don't want to talk about the core beliefs, which is their belief that they don't believe Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and they believe it was Israel plus, other group.
Well, this is the thing. At the end of the day, this is a preliminary hearing. And the standard is very low. It's akin to a grand jury indictment at the federal level, which is actually behind closed doors. The defense isn't even there. So this is a preliminary procedure. The amount of evidence that was presented at this preliminary procedure was overwhelming. You almost never see a preliminary hearing with this level of evidence presented. So, I mean, I'd be happy to talk to anybody who thinks that the evidence was not overwhelming against Tyler Robinson. It was very damning evidence. And if they have an alternative theory, they'd be happy to hear them out. But what I get a lot of, to be honest with you, is kind of just noise. It's, someone said this online right before we posted. They're like, I think a robot monkey did it. Now the burden of proof is on you to prove to me that it wasn't a robot monkey. And it's like, okay, now we're just following your schizophrenic musings, right? Like you have to actually grapple with the evidence presented by serious attorneys before a real judge in a real court. This isn't like a kid's game. This is real lawyers and somebody's life on the line and a man who was killed, and his family who's mourning for him. And it should be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anyone who's trying to their best to even if you look, we all have a bias. All of us have a predetermined conclusion that we're starting from. And then what you try to do is limit that bias and look at evidence to the best of your possibility. I'm not going to pretend I don't have biases. I do. But I think that anyone that's coming away from this hearing, which is designed to be more advantageous to the prosecution as far as presenting evidence, like the defense really hasn't had their opportunity to make their case yet at all. Pretty much, though we'll talk about that a little. Anyone who watched this and came out like, oh, the defense looks so much better, that's just blatantly untrue. You might say, if I was deciding as a jurist right now, and this is all I saw, I have reasonable doubt. Maybe you say that. But anyone who's trying to tell you, this was a slam dunk for the defense, the prosecution, screwed up and they disproved their own case, it's just a lie. And these are people that are hoping that you didn't watch the hearing, and you're just going to parrot what they say. It's just not true. The state's evidence was quite compelling. It may not hold up theoretically under cross-examination, which has not occurred yet. But as presented, it's pretty damning. Instead, what you just have people just on their own being like, I don't believe this. Okay, but why? I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. And so therefore, it's a bad prosecution. We talked about this. I talked about this last week. We had people saying things like this, that I think it was Project Constitution was like, how could you ever have a conviction if there's not
a video evidence? Yeah.
And it's like, what? We talked about it in the extravaganza. This is the level of shit that we're dealing with now. And it's like, my goodness, these people would be defense attorneys' dream jurist. Unless we have a notarized statement that, was notarized at the time of the murder with 3 different cameras, with the family there. And it's really just, the other thing, Val Van Gogh says we need to stop indulging with the crazies. I disagree. I think now's the time to point it out. Because I think that there will never be a lower point for them right now. And I think that these crazies not only harm conservatives, but they harm sort of independent sort of political voices like us and a bunch of other people, because this shit is so ridiculous that every one of us get lumped in with it. So now's the time to laugh at these people, give them an opportunity. If they want to debate, they predictably don't, then you laugh at them. That's what the time is.
And you should laugh at them, because at the end of the day, they're throwing out junk. They're throwing out junk conspiracy theories, but the lawyers, the defense attorneys, who, if this stuff was true, if the defense attorneys were willing to stake their credibility on it, they would make these arguments to save their client's life. Tyler Robinson will be killed by the state of Utah if the defense doesn't do something about it. It's their job to save him from being put to death. And they are choosing not to make these conspiracy slop arguments. And the obvious reason why is it would be devastating for their credibility. As an attorney, when you're in court, your credibility before the judge is one of your most important currencies. If the judge thinks you're throwing junk and can't be trusted, that influences the entire trial, influences the entire case. You have to maintain your credibility. They're not going to throw out conspiracy theories that don't make any sense. There's one that's going around now where they're saying Tyler Robinson, for X, Y, and Z reason, couldn't possibly have been in X location at Y time. Why didn't the defense say any of this stuff? Well, one reason is they know the government has his cell phone data. They know they have his Google Map routes. They know that they can prove where he was at given times. They saw the footage of him coming onto campus over and over again, including at night, to retrieve his weapon. So arguing that he wasn't on campus is an idiotic argument. There's photographic proof that he was on campus. There's officer testimony that he was on campus. There's positive IDs that he was on campus. The cell phone data suggests that he was on campus. So they're not going to throw their credibility away to make a bullshit argument. But of course, on the internet, people are fine just throwing junk, and then the next day they come back and they just have a new junk theory.
So let me do a little. We don't have to do an official poll, but for your audience, I did this with my audience last night, right? This was a preliminary hearing. Like you said, it's basically Utah's equivalent of a grand jury. So I'll ask you, but I'll also ask the audience. Right now, as it stands, all this was, correct me if I'm wrong here, this was just to see if we go to trial.
That's it.
It would be possible, hypothetically, in a situation like this, for the judge to be like, I don't think there's enough evidence. You can't proceed with the indictment. That's And in that world, what would happen? They don't get to retry. That's just game over.
They could, in theory, try again. I was talking to an attorney last night about this in my chat, Ubercross, who he said he looked at Utah. I haven't looked at this, but he said he looked at Utah, and jeopardy doesn't attach until they impanel the jury. So they could go back to the drawing board and try again.
It would be bad, though.
If they lost at probable cause, that suggests their case is terrible,
right?
And they probably shouldn't try again. And also, there's some motions that could be brought if it's like a harassment sort of thing. But the truth is, I think that all the, I would call credible legal commentators that I've seen looking at this, who do real legal analysis, there's a 99% chance that he gets bound for trial. The only thing that might be in play, they could try to say there's not probable cause for one of the enhancements, because he's charged with murder, and then he gets the death penalty because of two enhancements. One, he fired a gun in the presence of a child, and two, he killed Charlie Kirk allegedly for his political views. They could try to knock out the second one and say there wasn't enough evidence of a political motivation. I think that that's their best argument. And there's a text message where he says, some hate can't be negotiated with. I killed him because of his hateful views. So I call that a snowball's chance in hell. But that's what they're going to be litigating.
What is the standard of evidence they need to reach for the judge to determine?
Probable cause is like that translates to reasonable belief. You just have to have a reasonable belief that Tyler Robinson committed the crime.
So it's almost the opposite of like to convict, which is proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So it's like if there's like, it might even only be a 10% chance. He'd be like, yeah, it's worth having the trial because there's a reasonable belief this could have occurred. Given that, my question to you and the audience is, and look, I know there's at least one person in the audience that is more oriented towards the Candace Owens type conspiracy. That's fine, right? My question to all of you is, do you believe that based on what the state presented, that there's sufficient evidence to say, yep, it's worth going to trial? You already said 99% lawyers. I agree. Of course, there's enough. It's going to go to trial unless there's a plea deal or someone dies or something. This is going to trial. The judge is going to rule. Yeah, there's enough. Does everyone in the audience agree? Or is there anyone that's like, nope, I don't think there was enough presented?
Yeah, and by the way, I would be willing, if there was any ops in chat, I'd be willing to debate not the actual legal standard, which is probable cause, which I think is like a slam dunk. I would debate the evidence against Tyler Robinson is overwhelming. Like I think it's overwhelming evidence at this point, because the state went well beyond what's necessary for probable cause. I thought they had probable cause on day 2.
And here you can see, given the questions we had, this is, I don't know what to say. And I'm glad people like it. I know this guy's like a conspiracy guy because he was in my chat last night, like disparaging Erica Kirk, right? So I get the vibe. I recognize his goofy glasses here. But this is the content of the people on the conspiracy side. Now, we're not saying this proves he's guilty. The question is there evidence to go to trial? Is there probable cause? His response, the law is innocent until proven guilty, bud. Okay, then based on that answer, the assumption would be a grand jury or a pretrial like this never occurs, because to even say there should be a trial means you're impugning them as being guilty. Therefore, you can never have a trial because innocent until proven guilty. You understand the big brain people that we're up against here?
It's fucking wild, right? Like, I mean, like the question is, do you think, look, I won't use lawyer speak. Based on the evidence so far, do you think Tyler Robinson probably did it or probably didn't do it? Like, 51%. Where are you tilting probability wise? And to me, you look at the fact that there's video evidence, positive IDs, confession via text message, confession via Discord message, confession via goodbye note. His transferee lover testified against him. There's video of him going on the roof. There's video of him lying down with a rifle-shaped object at the time the shot was fired. There's video of him leaving the roof. There's video of him going to the woods. His rifle was found in the woods with a fired cartridge of the same caliber that killed Charlie Kirk. His DNA's on the gun. His DNA's on the towel. They have video of him coming back to retrieve it, which corroborates what he said in his text messages. Then he confessed to his family and turned himself in. I don't know, Rob, I just
innocent. He's innocent. Like, it's so stupid. It's
I'm just saying, like, put a bow on it. Like, what? Like, there are a lot of convictions that are found on a lot less evidence than that.
So I guess I'll just say that the reason I asked the question in the audience was to illustrate this point. Anyone who's trying to be objective, even if they think that ultimately it's a conspiracy, would say clearly there was enough evidence presented to warrant a trial. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're that guy that's like, that guy's out of the conversation. That guy's stupid. He's not being honest, right? Everyone knows that there's enough evidence there to bring this to trial. Given that, here's my question to the conspiracy people. The prosecution basically knew they had this wrapped up, that they were going to win this portion of it. Maybe they have some doubt that they'll win in the actual trial, but they knew they were going to win this. I mean, right? And we talked about, well, why are they being so extensive? Well, it's a death penalty trial, and there's a lot of public eyes on this, and there's possible jury being tainted, so they're trying to get their shit out there.
And they got dinged by the judge for talking too much publicly earlier. The judge was upset that they were talking about the evidence too much. So this was their chance to show the public the evidence. And by the way, the grieving family, the victim's family, is in court and begging them to show the evidence. Their lawyers stood up multiple times and asked for more evidence to be shown because, basically Erica Kirk and her family saying, like, for the love of all that's holy, like, can we show the evidence so that we can put this to bed? Like, my husband was killed in front of me. This is like the worst thing that's ever happened in my life. And there are insane people saying things about it on the internet. And I would like this to stop. Can we please show them the evidence? And so that everyone knows what happened.
So that's what's going on. So it's not that they were like, fuck, we might not get this. We have to try real hard. They were going to get it, right? Mm-hmm. So they had other motivations. Of course, motivation one is win the pretrial motion to have the trial, right? But then there was other things going on. The defense, they're setting up for a mistrial, as we've said before, right? So they're objecting to things, saying later they could say, hey, we objected to this, so they're laying the groundwork for that. They're also trying to win in a court of public opinion. But the only side that really had a chance to have like a shocking victory that could have ended this was the defense. My question is this then. Why didn't the defense, if the conspiracy people are right, and there is a litany of evidence that easily they could have brought up and been like, what's being testified to here right now is not only not true, it is a blatant lie by the professionals the prosecution has been put on. For example, according to the conspiracy people, there was no bullet at all. It was an exploding microphone. Why did they not try to make that argument? You might say, well, they don't have the proof now. Okay, let's go further. Why didn't the defense call on the parents to say, clearly Tyler Robinson was in police custody at 6 or 6:30 p.m. September 11th. Therefore, he couldn't have wrote the Discord. Why didn't they do that? They could have said, we have our cell phones. We're the parents. We have the cell phones. We have the GPS data. We were there. He was in the police station at this time. Therefore, when that officer's up there testifying, he turned himself in at 9:30. That officer, by the way, said a lot, right? In the hearing. So this would besmirch him to the judge on all sorts of shit. The dude's just blatantly lying. right? Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they bring in the receipts from the steakhouse that Tyler Robinson was in and say, very simple, here's his fucking credit card, here's its used, here's the surveillance from the steakhouse. Why didn't they do it? This could have, had they did that and that evidence exists, there's a better than not chance the judge would be like, I'm throwing this case out. But instead, they're willing to intentionally hold back on that. Now, granted, they have more options in the defense portion of the actual trial, but still, why not take that chance? Yeah. At least leave the judge shut it down. And I think we know the answer.
Can I show you something about this, Rob? Because this is so funny. Can you share my screen?
Yes.
So this is Baron Coleman, the lawyer in chief for the conspiratard faction. And here's his theory. You mentioned, why didn't the defense call the parents? And here's his theory. In my haste to think Viva actually was searching for an answer in his post, I read it completely backwards. The defense didn't call the parents because the parents would have been asked whether Tyler confessed to any crimes other than murdering Charlie Kirk. And I assume, but don't know, that the answer is that he did. So Baron Coleman's genius legal analysis is that the defense didn't call the parents because they were worried that if put on the stand, the prosecution would ask them if he confessed to other crimes other than the murder, and they would have to say yes.
So now it'd be something like this: Mom, Dad, they're saying I murdered Charlie Kirk. I didn't, but I was smoking weed. Nah, we don't want that to come out. That could really jeopardize your future. Better you face the death penalty instead of like. What are we talking about here?
Better we let our client die in the electric chair or firing squad or whatever Utah does than have the parents say, "Oh yeah, he was smoking some weed." Like this argument that Baron's presenting, it doesn't even bear enough scrutiny that you would want to test it. It's internally nonsense. It's contradictory. There is 0% chance he's right about this. There's no chance. This is the sort of thing that very bad lawyers write to convince idiots in the public that there's something to talk about. This doesn't make any sense. This is the worst strategic advice I could imagine a lawyer giving. Like, Rob, if you had the death penalty against you, if the state was going to kill you, would you want your defense team to bring all the evidence forward, even if it might, but Rob, what if they got you for paying too little taxes last year?
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
It just, none of it makes sense. And again, look, I understand. Now, you're going to know more about this than me. I'm assuming there's certain things that the judge would be like, look, there's certain things we're not going to let you enter as a prosecution or a defense. I'm, at best, have a layman's knowledge of a regular trial, let alone this hearing's unique to me in the sense that I can't recall ever watching one of these. I think in my state, in Pennsylvania, we don't have these. I think we just have grand juries. So I don't know. So maybe you could make an argument like, well, the judge wouldn't have allowed them to present that type of evidence. I find that difficult to believe, though, because to me, it might be that the judge is like, maybe you're not allowed to present evidence that you think would be exonerating that doesn't have to do with what the prosecution's talking about. But if the prosecution brings up a witness that's like, this dude was in custody at 9 o'clock, and you have definitive proof that that's bullshit, and that's a key part of their case, I can't imagine the judge would be like, no, you're not allowed to bring that up. I'm sorry, you're not. Like,
well,
so I don't know what the argument is.
Well, like the defense did call witnesses, right? They actually called the prosecution's experts to cross-examine them about DNA for ad nauseum for huge amounts of time because they wanted to try to lock in testimony and challenge the DNA evidence. So the judge was obviously letting them call witnesses. Now, probable cause is a low standard. Like if you came in, let's say that you're someone who believes it was Israel, Rob. It was Israel. Right? Israel put him up to it. If they came in and put in evidence that said Israel put Tyler Robinson up to it, that actually wouldn't change anything because Tyler Robinson still did it. So just to be clear, by the way, like even if Israel hired him, which there's no evidence of, he would still be guilty. So that wouldn't matter. But if they had evidence that that he was never there, right? Or if they had evidence that could show that that was not his rifle, right? That that his rifle is actually his grandpa's house. Like, of course, this evidence would be presented. So the issue is that the junk that people on the internet want the defense to throw, the defense is unwilling to throw because it's bad strategy. And this is the tell. The defense is good lawyers working hard for their clients' best interest. They actually did some great lawyering. They had some big wins. Like the idea that we're not getting an oral argument until September 1st, that's a huge win. They got a lot of big wins, but they're not going to risk their client's life to chase a bullshit conspiracy theory that they know they can't prove. They know they can't prove, because the danger of going to court and saying, oh, here's this alternative explanation, is if your alternative explanation goes up in smoke, now you look like a moron and you look like you can't be trusted, and it will hurt your client. So they're going to restrain themselves to the theories that they can at least credibly support. And if your theory is not amongst them, that's too bad for you. That just shows that the defense disagrees with you about the strength of the evidence presented.
So, I predicted this. I think this is one of the easy. Last night I made 3 predictions. Let's see if I remember them. I said 1, I think Tyler Robinson will either be found guilty or plead guilty. I'm very confident of that. That's number 1. The second prediction I made was that I can't. One of the predictions I made, I have to go back and see the 3. Was that when that occurs, people will blame the defense. They'll say the defense was in on it. That'll be the argument. The reason the defense lost is because they didn't bring up the truth, which is exploding microphone, which is Mormon beekeepers, which is Egyptian planes, which is the parents knew that he wasn't there at 6 o'clock, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever the theory of the individual conspiracy theorist is that the defense isn't bringing up, and the reason the defense doesn't bring it up is because it's stupid and they know that it's bullshit, but that will be used as evidence by the conspiracy people, not to say, oh, my theory must have been incorrect. Even the defense didn't bring it up. They'll just say more evidence that more people were involved in the conspiracy. And we've already seen that occurring. So the theory that's going on today, this is the most popular one, is this gentleman whose face you can't see works at a steakhouse that served Tyler Robinson steak the day after the murder, but during a time that this steakhouse was far enough away that it would not have been possible for Tyler Robinson to be sitting in the bushes watching police scour the area where his gun was. Therefore, it upsets the whole timeline of his text messages. I guess proving that the text messages are bullshit is what the conspiracy is. So let's listen to the steakhouse waiter here.
At all.
Has the defense hasn't reached out to you?
No.
No one's reached out to you whatsoever, even
No.
though you saw him
Yes.
that night.
Yeah, no one's reached out regarding anything to do with Tyler Robinson at all.
Okay, and here you have Diligent Denizen. I don't know if he's the guy filming here or not, but he says, Tyler Robinson's defense team is controlled opposition. In my opinion, it's already starting. That's going to be the claim. No matter what, if Tyler Robinson's found guilty, it'll be, well, that's because his defense was in on it. They too were paid off by Israel.
I think people don't understand how modern investigations and prosecutions work. Like, I have no inside information. I'm just talking about like how these work in my experience. They have his credit card. They know where he swiped his cards, because why wouldn't they get the credit card data from the credit card company? They could do it easily. They have his cell phone. They know what his car was. They have video of his car on campus coming back to get the rifle. They ran a plate. They know what car is his. So when you're confronted with evidence like this, you know, it reminds you of the Epstein files, where people were like, "Whoa, there's a tip in the Epstein files. How come no one followed up on that? How come no people aren't treating this tip in the Epstein files the way I wanted it to?" It's like, well, because people call the FBI and say shit sometimes. And sometimes they call and say shit, and the FBI is like, that's verifiably false. Turns out that's not worth following up on, because that's a bad tip. It's a bad tip. It's contrary to the information that we already have that is clearly established. So there's a million reasons why they haven't followed up with this particular waiter at this particular restaurant. But I think the most obvious would be that they know where Tyler Robinson was that night because they have him on video.
Well, my understanding,
what are we talking about?
I shouldn't say this because I have to verify it, but I was reading that law enforcement did reach out to this establishment, and they claimed that, like, well, sorry, we're having problems with our payment processor, so we can't give you the data on that, and we didn't have, like, camera footage. So at the end of, like, what's amazing to me is there are people that will have these two worldviews simultaneously. On one hand, they'll just believe with nothing, like Israel did it. Why? Well, because they wouldn't have been happy with things Charlie said recently. Yes, but that could be hundreds of thousands of people that maybe weren't happy with something Charlie said recently. That would provide some possibility of motive. That's not proof. Motive alone's not proof. Like, I don't particularly like, I don't know, Taylor Swift. If Taylor Swift, something bad happens to her, you can't be like, Rob must have did it. See, here's a clip of him being like, I hate that new Taylor Swift song. You see what I mean? Everybody understands it. So they'll believe anything. They'll believe some random waiter, guy claiming to be a waiter wearing a shirt. He said that's the gospel truth. But not like Lance Twiggs, not like the parents, not like the fucking law enforcement. All of them, it's like, we want fucking, the most proof. We want them on high def camera. We want fucking attorneys there to prove. And it's like, I don't understand the discrepancy. You're just willing to believe. I could quite literally, if I wasn't a streamer who's already taken a stance on this, if I was like, look, I was out that way, I was at a concert, and this dude beside me, he looked familiar when I thought about it. It was Tyler Robinson. And I remember he told me his name was Tyler Robinson because I was talking about David Robinson was my favorite basketball player of all time. And he was like, yeah, my last name's Robinson. I also liked him as well. And they had a checkerboard set up, and he beat me because he got 2 kings before I did, and the whole thing. And I remember specifically looking at, and people would be like, holy shit, incontrovertible proof. Like, that's it. Game over. And it's like, but I'm just some fucking guy making some claim. That's it. And everyone's like, well, I mean, how could you dispute that,
Well, actually, Rob, I'm glad you brought that up because my moderator, Zero Fucks, intrepid moderator and editor that he is, actually has inside information about Candace Owens' latest theory. And if you could share my screen, I want to play for you. This is the latest from Candace Owens. So I think this will explain, Rob, the entire worldview. And after this, you'll have no questions left.
Okay.
Like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed. And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that.
Putting it to music makes it more convincing.
We know Israel did 9/11.
Of course.
Dirty Tuesday, they did 9/10 too. They put an end to my beloved friend. I'll close my eyes, fall asleep, and see him again. Charlie, who did this to you? Some Utah Mormon or a penny grabbing too. Charlie, who planned to take your life? A foreign country, your team, and your wife. Charlie, who did this to you? A transferee lover or Netanyahu? Charlie, I know it's not what it seems. I'll tell the world what you tell me in my dream.
I don't know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there's nothing and no one that is going to stop the truth from coming out.
The FBI says he is a liberal fraud. From text messages and Discord logs, they cover up all the evidence. But in my dreams, I have the sixth sense. Charlie, who did this to you? A college dropout or a greedy
Frankus.
Ooh, Charlie, who planned to take your
Egyptian
life? A foreign country, your team, and your wife. Charlie, who did this to you? A lone wolf patsy or Netanyahu? Charlie, I know it's not what it seems. I'll tell the world what you tell me in my dream.
Well, Rob, I hope that clears
That's
up for
it.
you.
That's the end of the show. That's definitive. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I will say Candace, better singing voice than I anticipated. So good for her in that.
Yeah,
She has a career in maybe the music arts after her grifting here is done, you know?
I'll repost that so people can find Zero Fucks magic on my timeline on X. But yeah, look, I think that's after that, there should be no questions left. I think Candace has explained her point of view with precision. You know, it came to her in a dream, and she's sticking with that.
It's like I personally, I didn't hear, I mean, I'll admit I wasn't listening super intently to hear every word, but did it include anything about Charlie attending Professor Xavier's school for gifted youngsters and having clairvoyance and being able to see into the future? But actually Candace feels like an alien. She doesn't quite feel like a mutant, gifted mutant like Charlie. She feels more like somehow it has to do with the movie The Matrix. I know that. The timeline, so we had all these people like from the CIA that were looking at like the Hadron Collider and shit, and they were able to see into the timeline until the movie The Matrix came out. But somehow Charlie is like one of these gifted youngsters with these superpowers who had an affinity for Candace because she's probably an alien. Not quite the same powers, but you can see otherworldliness. So I don't know. Maybe
I mean, you just said a lot of words, and none of them were Jews. So I don't think you understood. I don't think you understood the video at all, Rob. To be honest with you, I feel like you missed the central theme there. Like, but yeah, no, but the point that you're making, and it's a good one, is that like it's just shape shifting at this point. Like they'll just come out and say some shit, and then you would think that if somebody used the phrase "time traveler" unironically, that no one would ever listen to them again. You'd be like, okay, we're done. We're done listening to you. That's very, very stupid. It's such a stupid thing you just said that nobody should ever listen to you again. But no, that's not how the game works. But I do think the tide is turning on this one. Like I think that like yes, these people have big podcasts and yes, their numbers are big. But in terms of like the normie public, I think people saw what happened at this hearing and they understand that this is a strong case. And that the prosecution is in a strong position. I mean, I was talking with people the other night, like they're saying, "Do you think he's going to get a plea bargain from the state?" And I was like, I don't know why they would take death off the table. Like, why would they make a deal with him at this point? I think their evidence is so good, they'll just. It's
funny you should mention that. And like, look, part of this is again, a prosecution's job first and foremost is to get justice for the victim of the crime, right? But there can be times when they're seeking to do that in ways beyond just a guilty verdict. And I think at this point to them, seeing what's happened to Erica and seeing the public smearing of this case and Charlie, I think they really want a slam dunk in the court. I think they want you can see the theme of this was, we want all the evidence public. That's coming from the prosecution. Throw it all out there. It's the defense that's like, no. We don't want this evidence out there. And so for me, if you feel you have a slam dunk and you see these people that are trying to like paint this narrative that it's all bullshit, you're like, yeah, let's go to trial. Let's put it out publicly. Because one of the things that's going to happen if this ends up resulting in a plea deal, which I think at this point, Tyler Robinson would like that.
Oh, he would love it. If they took death off the table, he'd take it in a heartbeat. I think.
But here we go. Let's hear what our boy Baron Coleman would have to say about that.
Oh, dear Lord.
I think that there are two people who are in grave danger right now. Unbelievably grave danger. And by grave, I mean a danger of being taken out physically from this earth. The first may be obvious. It's Tyler Robinson. Tyler Robinson's in grave danger. Tyler Robinson was not supposed to survive to turn himself in. I'm now convinced of that. Tyler Robinson was framed. I am now 100% convinced of that. But Tyler Robinson cannot go to trial. He cannot, because they cannot prove he did it. Not only that, if he goes to trial, it's going to just blow the whole thing apart.
So two claims there. Obviously, the big claim he's making is
can you leave that up for a second? Just because I want to say something about the picture too. Notice this dude has wall art of the word allegedly over his head, because if you're in the business of just asking questions like Candace and this guy are, you have to say allegedly or in my opinion so often that so you don't get sued for defamation, that he actually has wall art over his head to make sure that nobody knows that he's ever stating something seriously. Anyway, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Rob.
So he's doing two things there. One is he's saying, look, they're going to kill him. He wasn't supposed to survive. But the other thing that he's subtly doing is saying they can't let it go to trial. So if there's a plea deal, he'll say, you see, they threatened his life. They threatened his family's life. They know that this is proof that Tyler was innocent. Tyler pleading guilty is proof that he's innocent. I told you they couldn't leave it go to trial. That's what they're setting the stage for. So now, just to hedge their bets, if there is a guilty plea, see, we already covered that. I told you. And his fans will go,
yay!
Yay, that's it.
Well, and here's the really gross part about it. When somebody says something like Tyler Robinson can't be allowed to make it to trial, let's translate the grift for a second. If he goes to trial, these people are going to look very stupid. He's going to get convicted, right? But this is a mentally unstable young man. There is a non-zero chance that he offs himself.
Right.
Before, it's not. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying there's a non-zero chance. And what they're doing is like this gross, morbid gamble where they're like, well, if I said that, and then if he offs himself, now I can say the government killed him. Right now I can make that conspiracy claim out. So I'm trying to get into headspace of somebody who's literally willing to make gambles on whether or not this mentally ill murderer, likely murderer, I should say alleged murderer, is going to kill himself in prison. And then at the same time, grifting and making millions off of, Erica Kirk and the absolute tragedy of what happened to her husband. Like, this is a dark place to be mentally. These are people who are doing very bad things. And at the end of the day, I think Andrew put it this way because he was just very simple. He's like, the odds are very high that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. And these people are trying to make money by helping him get away with it.
Yep.
That's what they're trying to do. And like, first of all, get the fuck off the right. We don't want you on the team. We don't want you on the team. You're not helpful. Get the fuck off the right. But second of all, like, what a disgusting thing to do. And notice it's crickets. You've had the link in chat the whole time. Nobody's fucking calling in. Nobody's fucking calling in.
I forgot to I posted it, but I didn't pin it. So I will put that up. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, I'll be nicer if you call in. I'll give you credit for showing up and not being a bitch about it because, but
you
like,
can already see. I already saw the one guy in chat. He's like, "Here's, here. I could probably find the post. This is so to everything we're saying. Here's the quality of comments you get. Love how defensive and emotional you're getting. Or when I put this link out, that Tom guy, he said the same thing. Baron Coleman has 22,000 views right now. Live view.
Okay.
What? Explain to me the argument. Oh, he has a bunch of people watching. So theoretically, right, if Joe Rogan goes live and says this is stupid and he has 50,000 live viewers, then that's now Tyler Robinson's guilty. Is that how the game's played? I don't know. Yes, Baron Coleman's avoiding debates with people like Andrew Wilson because he knows what will happen. And his stupid audience is like, yay, that's a good thing. Look how many of us are watching. I'll even assume that these are all, not foreign left-wing bots or whatever. Let's assume they're, I don't give a shit.
I mean,
good for him making money off this. All you're proving is the point that there's a huge financial incentive for them to keep doing this.
Oh, well, here's how big the financial incentive is and how deep the need to avoid an argument is. Did you see that the Whatever podcast put up $80,000 to have Candace debate Andrew on the Whatever on Whatever? And then Andrew put in 80.
Yep.
So it was $160,000 for Candace to show up and debate this issue with Andrew on the Whatever podcast. So, I mean, I can guarantee you she's not taking that, by the way. And that just shows you how much the grift is worth. So yeah, they're right. Baron Coleman has 22,000 live viewers. Candace has way more than that. The grift is so good that she's not going to take $160,000 because if she debates Andrew on this, the grift comes to an end. It
Right.
comes to an end.
And that's exactly right. And it's like when you listen to I mean, even well before, I tried to give people a fair shake. Like on my channel months ago, I was like, give me the theory. And the incoherency is insanity. It's just, wow, you didn't hear? You didn't hear Charlie sort of change his tone on Israel? Okay.
So what?
Oh, what about these airplanes? Okay, but what's the theory? Well, we don't know. But it's weird. And you're just like,
We're just asking questions.
what are we talking about here?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that pisses me off about that just asking questions thing. So they're like, well, there's an Egyptian plane. I'm just asking questions, right? Okay. But can we apply the just asking questions standard in both directions? Like,
No,
can we do
they
that?
don't allow that.
Like, okay, Tyler Robinson doesn't go to school at this. He's not a student at this campus. Why is he there? I'm just asking questions. When he was there at this school 3.5 hours away from his home where he does not go, why did he bring a rifle with him? Why did he hide the rifle in the woods? Why does the rifle have a spent cartridge? Why is the caliber of the spent cartridge the same as the caliber bullet that killed Charlie Kirk? Why is his DNA all over it? Why did he carve "Hey Fascist Catch" on the cartridges that he brought with him that day? Why did he change his clothes before he went up on the roof? Why did he confess to his transferee lover afterwards? Why did he write a goodbye/suicide note and hide it under a desk? And why did he turn himself in to the police? Why is his car all over campus? Like, if you're just asking questions, shouldn't you have to just ask questions about all those things?
Yeah, but there's answers. There's answers to all those.
Oh, yes, of course.
Jew.
Yes, my bad.
You know, so you have to remember the answer is Jew.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind. My mistake.
My fault. I mean,
it's literally, it's like, they'll be like, no, he never did confess. He never did write a letter. He didn't send those Discord messages. He didn't send those text messages. His rifle was never there. It was never his rifle anyways. That's their answer to all these questions. Okay, but so increasingly then, and this is what I've tried to do. I'm just like, okay, let's accept that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you give an answer and it's like, the way this works is like, you're trying to discuss a theory of something that happened. And you're like, here's my theory of what happened. So what we do is we take that theory and say, okay, what does that look like then? Right? If that world is true, what would that look like? So for example, the other day in my channel, I had this exact conversation happen. Okay, so Tyler Robinson, the 11th, was Mirandized at 6 p.m. Therefore, he couldn't have done the Discord messages. Yep. Okay, and if that's true, that means that Tyler Robinson's parents are intentionally not exonerating their son. They were with him. That's undisputed by everyone. That means they knew he was turned in at 6. Why haven't they spoken up? Are they in on it? And the response to me was, quote, why do you believe this Fed slop?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is nothing. I have not heard the Fed say this. I'm asking you. You have looked at evidence. One side has presented evidence and said, here's the evidence. You say, I don't believe it. I believe this is manufactured. And I'm like, okay, but if it is manufactured, wouldn't the parents know? Why aren't they speaking up? And instead of saying, well, I believe they were bought and paid for by Israel, or they were threatened by Israel, or Erica Kirk showed up to their house personally and kicked them in the balls and said, if you say anything, I'll kill you. Instead of saying any of that, because they know how ridiculous it sounds, they're just like, let's Fed slop. Let's just Fed slop. We get to ask all the questions we want of the theory that the state's presenting with actual evidence, but our theory with no evidence, you're not allowed to ask any questions of that.
Yeah.
That means you're a Fed if you're asking questions.
And then, by the way, here, since we're getting through like all this, here's how the evidence came in during the hearing. The state presented evidence that the last Discord message was at 8 p.m. Tyler Robinson, they showed a video, which was about 9 p.m. He was in a room at the police station and still had his phone. So beyond all these, like, even if it was true, it could be explained in a million ways that you provided some of them. But then it turns out it's also just bullshit. Like, right. It's also just a thing they made up, right? And again, the central thesis, why didn't the defense make the argument, oh, he was Mirandized before this Discord message was sent. It must be a frame job. Why didn't the defense make that argument? Because the evidence doesn't support that argument. And it would make them look very foolish if they made that argument. And they, unlike the public commentators, are aware of what the evidence is. They're aware of it. So they don't want to look like retards. And they don't make these arguments. But we in the public have to deal with these idiots who make these arguments. And this is what kills me. They never have a mea culpa. They never come back and they're like, oh yeah, like Baron fucking Coleman. He said, I don't think Tyler was there. Candace said I don't think Tyler was there. When they have video of him there, do they have a mea culpa? No. Baron goes, there's no way he could have. You can't convince me that he knew how to scope the rifle and zero it in because he had no idea where Charlie was going to be on campus. There's testimony that Tyler went to the TPUSA people when they were setting up Charlie's tent for the event. He knew exactly where it was. And he had time to scope the sight lines from the surrounding roofs. So it turns out that entire theory is nonsense. No mea culpa. They never walk.
Well, they said Lance Twiggs was never interviewed by police. That's a lie. Like we have the footage of him now being interviewed. Have you seen the search warrants?
Mm-hmm.
So Andrea Burkhart. So I'll just show. Like I've read through some of them, but I'll show.
Shout out Andrea Burkhart, by the way. Her coverage on this has been great.
She's absolutely crushing. Here's a section just to give you an idea. By the way, these search warrants were put out there, I believe. Let me get the exact date for you. I have it here. It was September 23rd, 2025. So this is within 2 weeks, right? And so this is the type of stuff when they're like, maybe he was at this diner. Maybe he wasn't at this place. This is what the search warrant is suggesting. And keep in mind, the state hasn't presented much of this yet. They'll have their opportunity. They weren't forced to present this. Here's what it says. A search warrant was obtained for Tyler Robinson's cell phone. During the review of the data and information stored in the device, I observed a Google Maps route with the start of time of 9/10/25. That's 6:46 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Accounting for the time conversion, the route start time was approximately 12:46 hours. The route start time was approximately 23 minutes after the shooting. The starting point for the route was listed with GPS coordinates. The starting point coordinates were near the Mountain Shadow Shopping Center. According to Google Maps, this center is approximately 7 minutes from the Utah Valley University campus. Google Maps routes from the area near the shopping complex to a Quick Quack car wash located at whatever. Agent Draney with the Utah State Bureau of Investigation obtained records and video footage from the car wash of Tyler Robinson's 2013 Challenger, arriving at the car wash at approximately 12:57 on September 10th, 2025. Investigators previously conducted a records check and found Robertson to be the co-owner of the vehicle. Mm-hmm. I also observed a second Google Maps route that had been stored in Robinson's device. The Maps route had a start time of 9/11/2025 at 7:33. Counting for the time conversion, this starts at 1:33. Starting point for the route was listed with GPS coordinates. Starting point coordinates were in the neighborhood of the north of and in close proximity to the area the aforementioned rifle was located, near the campus. Google Maps route from the area near campus at 3419 South River Road. Investigators previously conducted a record check and found that Robinson was residing at that address. So it's like they actually have the fucking cell phone data. The GPS route that's like, okay, 7 minutes after, or 23 minutes after the shooting, he starts using his Google Maps account in a location 7 minutes from where the shooting occurred, right? Directly to the spot that they're accusing him of being at, right?
Yeah.
They have a car wash footage showing his car there, right en route, right exactly where the prosecution's saying. Then the next day, they have the Google Maps account that show him right at the location at the time that line up with his text messages saying that he's watching them search for the gun. And people are just like, nope, it's all bullshit. It's all fake. It's all made up. I mean, there is so much evidence in these warrants. If it goes to trial and this evidence comes out publicly, like, I mean, it's already public, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look... To watch the hoops they're going to have to jump through is going to be fucking amazing. Is the car wash in on it as well? The owner of Quick Quack Car Wash is now he's involved with Netanyahu.
Google's involved with Netanyahu. Yep. The DNA evidence is involved. And by the way, they're so reckless with the way they represent what happened in court. Like I've heard that Candace was saying that that the sample was degraded and the DNA sample that blows apart the prosecution's case. Mm-hmm. What she's misrepresenting is the analyst who did the DNA work, who said, yeah, when you leave a sample out in the open, it degrades compared to laboratory conditions, but nonetheless, I was able to match it. Right? That's the point, which is like a basic science point. This is not a blow to the case. It's a very basic point. Or I think Baron Coleman came out and said most of the DNA was Lance Twiggs, when it was the opposite. Most of the DNA that was found was Tyler Robinson's. And of course, it is not weird that a towel that was in their shared home has both of their DNA on it. Don't ask me questions about that. I don't really want to get into it, but this is
even
not
in a non-gross way, just
Yeah.
fucking drying your hands after washing dishes. The whole thing's stupid. Again,
It's
the
ridiculous.
if we accept, like, and their theories never make sense even in totality, right? So, like, if we accept, because they'll be like, aha, the screwdriver had both of their DNA. Okay, but your argument should be there was no screwdriver, right? That has to be the argument, because the screwdriver implies there was a person on that roof at that time, right, when this occurred, right? The footage of the person running from the roof. So the argument then becomes, I guess the best argument saying that would be Lance Twiggs shot Charlie Kirk, not Tyler Robinson. Okay, let's say that that's what you're going with. How does that jive with the Erica Kirk, Turning Point did it, Israel did it? I don't understand. You limited a weapon to a household, right?
Mhm.
That weapon's there. You have, even if that's all you had, okay, we think this is the weapon. It came from this household. There were two people that had access to that weapon. Now we've narrowed it down to two suspects. One of those suspects was seen 7 minutes later outside the campus, right? We have his GPS data that shows him leaving the scene. We have his confession in the form of a message to the other one. We have the written letter. We have him confessing to his parents. Like, we have his DNA, like, all of this shit. Even if you had two people's DNA, it's clear that that narrows it down to a small group of people, and then the overwhelming circumstantial evidence afterwards narrows it down to which one of those two it was. And it's like everything, unless you have, was there a direct video, high definition video of the actual shot being performed by Tyler Robinson? No, then I don't accept it. Or this is another one I like. I saw that Lionel guy. You know who I'm talking about?
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
He keeps saying this. Well, the bullet didn't match the rifle. Well, not really. It wasn't confirmed nor ruled out.
Yeah.
The
It's
issue was
inconclusive.
it's inconclusive. Now, that doesn't mean, well, then you have to acquit. If the bullet if they would have been like, it definitively could not have came from this gun. Now you got something. But to just be like, well, it's inconclusive. It may have, it may not. The bullet was too degraded to find out. And they're just like, well, that means, so just to be clear, if Lionel, who I believe is an attorney, right, if he's ever on a jury and you murder someone and the bullet comes up as inconclusive to the gun, even if you confess, even if there's video of you running from the crime scene, right, he'll still say, nope, I'm not convinced. The gun didn't matter. Yeah, but the bullet was degraded. It came from that caliber. I'm not convinced. Even the confession's not enough for me. Not convinced. I mean, this is insanity. It's, I don't know. Someone want to call in?
It's absolutely wild.
Well, the link's there. It's pinned to my YouTube. If anyone wants to call in.
You can go check that out on Rob's
I could pin
YouTube.
it to yours, or I could put it in here. Well, it should have showed up in your chat as well, but let's read some super chats.
But so before we do supers, just one thing, if you don't mind. Can you just share screen?
Yeah.
This is what drives me so crazy. Like, we can get into the bullet stuff. We can talk about the bullet stuff. We've done it before. We do it again. But let's just say you had almost no evidence other than this. You have a handwritten note from Tyler Robinson to his lover that says, Luna, that's the name that Lance Twiggs used with Tyler. If you are reading this per my text, then I am so sorry. I left my house this morning on a mission and sent an auto text. I'm likely dead or facing a lengthy prison sentence. So this is basically a goodbye/suicide note. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it. I don't know if I will have succeeded, but I had hoped to make it home to you. I wish we could have lived in a world where this did not feel necessary. If you had almost no evidence other than that, you would win a probable cause hearing. He wrote a note where he said, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I took it. Now, if for you, Okay, like is it logically possible that somebody forged that note on behalf of some conspiracy? I mean, it's possible, but that's an extraordinary claim. You would need at least some evidence that actually happened, not the mere possibility that it happened, right? Like, this is how crazy these people are. Like, I mean, what are we talking about? About like 30-06 deformation rates as they pass through targets. The guy wrote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I took it."
They'll just say that's not him.
Of course not. But
and
why,
I mean,
why not? On the basis of what evidence?
And like, look, this is a guy who's been a longtime supporter of mine, right? Here, you want to know his answer to that? You ready? Mm-hmm. Here we go. Then why hasn't probable cause been declared yet?
Because they haven't scheduled the hearing for it yet. There's okay, please. I'm going to assume this is a good faith question. I'm going to answer it in good faith. The reason is the defense asked for extra time, and the judge granted it. So the lawyers are going to write briefs and arguments, and then on September 1st, they're going to have oral argument, and then the judge will rule. So the reason that it hasn't been declared yet is because the defense asked for extra time and the judge said yes. That's why. But
that sounds like something a Jew would say.
That does.
That's what that sounds like. That sounds like Fed slop. That sounds like someone making excuses that it's the Fed. By the way, why did it take so much time to get to this hearing? Who was it that wanted more time? The defense. Why is it that most of this evidence isn't being made public? The defense. They're the ones that's challenging every step of the way. And rightfully so. You'd see how damaging these things are.
And Bleezer, it will be easy. It will be easy. Like, how about this, Bleezer? Pick an amount of money that you would like to bet me on whether or not probable cause will be found. And, shoot me a DM. We'll
give you odds. No problem. I mean, I don't understand.
But I'll feel bad taking your money, Bleezer. I'll feel bad about it, but I'll do it to prove a point.
And then the best part is, so that if someone's watching this, they'll be like, well, once probable cause is ruled, surely people like Bleezers will say, well, okay. But no, it'll just be on to the next thing. Yeah. Well, of course, the judge is in on it. Of course, he ruled that, or it was very difficult. It was only by the skin of the teeth. I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say. It's frustrating, especially when it's people that you're like, I know that's a real person. Some of these people I think are bullshit or bots, but there are real people that believe this. And this is the type of mentality. I see like Ian Carroll saying this. Well, Ryan, you realize you're on the side of the government, right? And what about COVID? Huh? Oh. Now you're a lockdowner, right? Because the government was lockdowns and the government thinks Tyler Robinson did it. So you must be a lockdowner. I mean, Bleezers did that to me as well. He said that. You just couldn't believe the feds? Now you're on the side of believing the feds? I said, do you believe the feds that just prosecuted Antifa in Texas? Or were they lying? Was that Fed slop? The Antifa people never really did anything. And of course, you want to know what his answer is? Well, there's infighting in the FBI. So that was the good FBI. The good FBI went after Antifa in Dallas. Bad FBI controlled by Netanyahu. That's who's going after Tyler Robinson.
And look, it is healthy to be skeptical of your government. Like that's fine. I'm fine with that. Like, you want to be skeptical of what the government says. You have a bit of an anti-authoritarian streak. Like, I'm there for you. But there's a difference between I'm skeptical of what the government says and I assume the opposite of what the government says is true at all times. Because now you're just controlled by them, right? Like, if you have to take the opposite position, you're just a bot. You're an NPC. Right? Like, it's one thing to be like, okay, I have to think about it. But like, I don't know. This is going to sound very obvious, but maybe it just needs to be said. I didn't come to the conclusion that Tyler Robinson probably killed Charlie Kirk because of some preconception I had. I came to the conclusion because I spent all week watching the hearing and I have a legal background and I watched the evidence come in and it's overwhelming. It's an overwhelming amount of evidence. Like, it's a shocking amount of evidence to see before a trial even starts, right? Okay, sorry. Can I share this? The Babylon Bee. Holy shit. This is...
Dude, this is a theory. Now this isn't so. Look, that's not so far fetched. I have a theory that some of the most ridiculous, name-ems, it's Jewish people did everything. I have a theory they're on the payroll of Israel, right? Because they're so insufferable that it makes you sympathize with Israel. So I'll be doing a stream. It's like, you know what? We should never give another dollar to Israel ever again. I'm tired of it. We need to focus on domestic policy. I'm tired of Qatar and China and countries in Europe and Israel and all these countries that are lobbying us. I'm over it. Stop providing defense for them. Stop giving them money. And someone in my chat will be like, how much did Israel pay you to have that opinion? Why won't you name them? Why won't you just admit that Israel does everything evil? And I'm like, this has to be a pro-Israel guy, right? That's like, I'll just be such a huge insufferable asshole that everyone's like, I don't know, maybe I want to defend Israel just because these people are assholes. So I wouldn't be so. Don't worry, Candace. There's other things going on with Candace. I don't know if you knew.
Honestly, though, I think this is, the left had their moment like during 2020, maybe it was earlier, maybe it was like 2015, where the modern leftist movement was rising, the fucking socialists, the burn it all down, the gay race communists, the various strains of revolutionary thought that are on the modern leftist wing. And the left had the opportunity to tell them, fuck yourself. We don't really want you on the team. Like you're fucking lunatics. We don't want you. But they didn't. They didn't do that. They cozied up to them. And now you see where the left is. I think this is actually that kind of moment for the right where we have it's like, okay, are we going to be the party that says yeah, probably Israel did it. Fuck it. There's no evidence of that, but that's who we are now. We're conspiracy sloppers. That's who we are now. Or
the irony,
fuck it, get out of here. You're done.
The irony is those people you talked about with the DSA people are left-wingers, and these people are basically left-wingers, or at least they're doing the work of the left, right? So you have all these people, just to be clear, here is the belief of the right wing. Yeah, the FBI is right about Antifa, charging Antifa, but clearly they're being controlled by Israel when it comes to Tyler Robinson. Here's what they'd want you to believe. Ryan, how stupid do you have to be to believe that the group of people that came out massively celebrating Charlie Kirk's death would have a member of them that would be willing to shoot him? That's ridiculous. That's beyond the pale. It can't be that some violent lefty did it. It has to be Israel. It's the only explanation that makes sense. You really think a violent left-winger would go out and shoot a right-wing political figure? No chance. But by the way, that is what happened in Dallas when they went after ICE. But not here. No chance. That's just Fed slop. It couldn't have been a lefty. Nope.
Well, this is the thing that Andrew spotted early, which I hadn't connected yet. But he was like, why is it that Z and Unfuck America and all these Act Blue funded leftist organizations, like overtly socialist organizations, why are they getting on the Tyler Robinson didn't do it bandwagon? Why are they amplifying Candace? Why are they doing this? And the reason is it's good for them politically. It's good for them. They don't give a fuck about Charlie Kirk. Just to be clear, they don't give a fuck about Charlie Kirk. They don't give a fuck about the right. They don't give a fuck about Erica Kirk. They just want the right to lose, right? And they think this is a good way to make the right lose, is to amplify this message. And it's amazing how many people are willing to go along on that fucking ride, who would, if you asked them independently, you'd be like, what do you think of Z and Unfuck America? They'd either say, who's that bitch? Or they'd say, if they know who she is, they'd be like, oh God, I hate her. But yet they're willing to amplify her message. It's interesting.
Yeah. Let's read some super chats. We're behind on that front. So remember, if you'd like to call in, the number is pinned on my YouTube channel.
I'll hold my breath, Rob.
I don't think, and we don't want someone just calling in to play devil's advocate to make fun of them. There's plenty of time for that. On your end, did you, J.D. Genifs,
I struggle with this one, man.
The Great Mute Grift 2026 Part 2. Yeah, with Ryan. It's very good. It's very clever. We'll set up a chair versus mute stream. And then we got Iguanodon was a famous herbivore with sharp thumb spikes used to defend against predators, break open tough seeds, and fight rivals. The exclamation. Thanks for the $5 as always, Plasterbot.
And the Dino Facts. Don't forget the Dino Facts.
Yeah. Truth or Fault, $5. Rob's Griffiths pretend not to understand what chatters are saying. which makes them don't know more to clarify.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't
Can you
get what
explain
you're
that
saying.
further?
Stupid,
that's
stupid.
ridiculous.
Crow Crisis, $10. Thank you so much. And then Agrotech on my end, member for a month, says I would super chat, but I bought an engagement ring. Well, congratulations.
That's a good purchase.
Unless you're not getting engaged and you just like wanted his wall art, then that's a dumb purchase. But I assume you mean you're getting engaged, so congratulations. On your end, Jefferson, $2 says Rob talking to an organization with tiny hats.
Oh,
There was one person with a tiny hat on that. I'll leave it at that though. And then on my end, Jefferson says your efforts help us who are busy with day jobs. Yeah, one thing I will say is even with the Candace folks that follow her, the truth is there are people that either just have a limited give a shit meter. So it's like, I'm not going to spend hours watching this trial, or they're busy people. And so they're going to watch someone curate. It used to be that the way that happened in this country and most countries around the world was some form of official media, right? You had the New York Times, or you tuned into Fox News, or you tuned into CNN, or, Meet the Press on the weekends. And for reasons we could get into at a later date, those have fallen out of favor with a lot of people. And so people do listen to online voices. And you can understand it. Like me and Ryan actually has a real job, but it affords him the capacity on limited days to cover this extensively. Someone like Baron Coleman or Candace Owens, this is sort of becomes the career, and so you have time to watch it. But not every Candace fan or fan of me or yours is going to have time to sit there and watch the entire trial. So I think that then gives you some sort of responsibility as the person that's streaming it to at least try to be accurate. To not be saying bullshit and then not correcting the record when it's obvious bullshit, because there are people relying on you. You can interpret things in the way you want, but like just saying shit like, when Baron Coleman came out and was like, 95% of the DNA on the screwdriver was Lance Twiggs, they testified to. And it was the exact opposite. And like I saw people saying, where was your correction? And they're like, we corrected it on stream, but not on X, where the post got hundreds of thousands of impressions. That post still stands, right? And so it's like, look, I'm not perfect. I have opinions that are wrong. I get facts wrong, but you try your best. But there are people that are just blatantly like, we're going to say whatever bullshit we feel like, knowing that the majority of the people watching haven't seen what we're talking about. So,
well, there's a difference between being wrong and being in the business of being wrong.
Right.
Right. Like everybody's wrong now and again. You say something, you misremember a fact or a statistic, you misquote. So like these things happen to the best of us. And if you've never talked publicly and extemporaneously for a long period of time, you learn to give people a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, because it is a tough thing to do while maintaining accuracy. But if you're in the business of being wrong, where your job is literally to be wrong on purpose while just asking questions, that's a little different. Because what you're really engaged in, I mean, for lack of a better word, you're just, you're grifting, right? Like that, there's no other way to put it. You're saying things that you must know you were lying when you said it for money. And that's a different thing.
Our local Fed poster, Alishness, who thinks that we should use lethal force against ICE agents and then walks it back and is a total fucking idiot. One time, Ryan quoted the Declaration of Independence, so clearly he's for shooting ICE officers as well. Yeah. His Alishness is a big post. We're pussies that won't talk to you. Go ahead, the call-in number's there.
Yeah. Oh,
you would keep it. You keep it to the fucking Tyler Robinson. If you believe that Tyler Robinson didn't clean, go ahead. Now I know that we run the risk of Alishness Fed posting again, or just wasting our time with abject stupidity, as is usually the case.
I was going to say, don't feed the trollishness.
No, it'll just, all it does is make us look good with someone this incompetent that wants to argue the Tyler Robinson. So there you go. We're pussies. We won't accept the call-in. Let's see if you call. All right, next. Jefferson, $2 says conspiracy slop is why rules of evidence exist.
Yeah.
That was on your end. Totally agree. And your end, Truth or Volt, $10 says every single person should be clipping every video and screenshot of every post from all the conspiratards and never stop posting them as reminders so that no one takes them serious anymore. Yeah, it's one of the things that I need to do better at. And we certainly as a community need to be better. Now, I don't know if this is true, and so I retract this if it's not true, but I saw people posting, unless it was faked screenshots, Ian Carroll months and months ago saying something effective like, bombshell coming out about RFK tomorrow. It's like going to be shattering. And then nothing happened. And do you think Ian Carroll came out later and was like, my mistake, I got that one wrong. Turns out there wasn't anything. No, it's just move on to the next thing. And then people forget, oh, you're the person that was like, this bombshell was coming out and it never happened. That was forever ago. I'm on to some other thing now. So who gives a shit, right?
Yeah. And by the way, I think, I forgot the name, but the poster is 100% right. Can you share screen for a second?
Yep.
This is not Tyler Robinson. This is something else, but this is Kyle Kalinske, who's another moron. On May 30th, he said, Plattner could have sexted my mom and I'd still vote for him. You know what? This is the sort of thing that you should bookmark. You should bookmark stuff like this. And then later, when Kyle talks about being a judge of character or talks about, what he thinks about somebody else's character or what we should do politically, you should remind him that he said this, because it turns out this was not a very good take, Kyle. Wasn't a great take. It turns out that the Nazi rapist was, in fact, not a great guy to support. Who could have guessed? Who could have seen that coming? And, there's Josiah chiming in. Sorry, that's hilarious. I didn't even see that. So yeah,
in that chat, he was.
Yeah. I think people should do that with like Barron and with Ian. I think people should, bookmark these posts and then, look, it's going to take a long time. We're not going to have a trial probably till 2027, maybe late 2027. But when probable cause is found, when, as is likely the case, he's found guilty, remind them what they said, because they're going to want to forget and they're going to want to obfuscate.
Oh, we were pussies that wouldn't talk, but she doesn't have anything to say.
Yeah.
Maybe we weren't pussies, huh? Anyways, that's the troll you deal with. Whatever. Dartho, $20 says, Candace just finished her first live stream since the prelim hearing ended. She stated the testimony of the FBI forensic expert that the DNA of Tyler found on the gun was, quote, the most degraded of all the DNA. Destroys the state's case. I didn't hear anything of that. There was questions about the integrity of the DNA, but I don't recall it saying it was like so degraded that it didn't have utility.
No. What was testified about was the fact that like certain pieces of DNA evidence were more degraded than others, because they were out exposed to the elements longer. So like the gun, for example, was left in the woods for quite some time and not found until much later. Whereas the screwdriver was found earlier, right? So like it had more time in the elements, the DNA degraded more, but the expert also, I forgot the exact math because each one had a different figure, but they gave probabilities about like how likely it would be that it was not a combination of that person one is Lance Twiggs and person two in the DNA pool was Tyler Robinson. And none of them were less than 1 trillion to 1. Some of them were up to like 30 quintillion to 1 or 5 quintillion to 1. So these are, yes, there was degradation in the DNA, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't a match. That just means that DNA degrades when left in the environment over time.
So it'd be the equivalent of this. Like, let's steelman Candace's argument. Perhaps the DNA on the screwdriver was 1 in 1 trillion, or was, to be Tyler Robinson, but it was only 1 in 100 billion on the gun. Therefore, we can't use it.
Yeah.
1 in 100 billion. Nope, it could have been.
Yeah.
Like, do you see the stupidity of this?
You're
this
actually,
is a clever way.
And also, you're steel manning her too well. Her argument's
Right.
even dumber than that, because all that the expert actually said is that some of the DNA degraded more than others, but I could still match it.
Right.
It's like saying we found 2 pools of blood. One of them we found later, so it congealed more. Like it's a statement about the state of the evidence. It's not a question about whether you were able to run blood typing. Like she was able to do a DNA match.
It's the equivalent, like, just to be clear, like, let's just put it in numbers that are like, we're 99.9999% sure that this is his DNA, but in this one, we're 99.9998. And Candace is saying, aha, then we can't use it.
There's a chance.
That's the equivalent of what's happening.
Yeah.
And what you do is you make a statement that's technically true. It was degraded more, and then you jump to a conclusion that doesn't speak to what that technical truth was. right? So here's this and here's this. Well, because this is slightly lower, we can't use this. But no, the same witness. And by the way, there's another thing with all of this that I think's worth talking about right here. Let's, again, I know we're not allowed to do this, but let's try it for a second. Let's ask questions of the alternative theory. If it's true that the medical experts and the ballistic experts and the FBI and all the people that got the camera footage and all this shit that faked the confessions and all that, if that's all true, why didn't they do it more convincingly? Because on one hand, Candace Owens will be like, well, it's weak. Like, this evidence is weak and this footage was too grainy. Why didn't they just have more high def, right? Why didn't they just say, yeah, the fucking ballistic matches. Yep, it matches the rifle. Yep. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they just say, oh, no, none of the DNA degraded? If it's all made up anyways, right? What's the fucking point?
Well, Rob, because then it would be too neat. It would be too neat. They put it was wrapped up with too nice a bow. That's a frame job too, Rob. Don't you understand? It's the thing is they can make these arguments no matter how the evidence comes in. It's either too neat and too perfect, or it's not perfect enough, and therefore it's not good enough. And they actually make both arguments at the same time. I've heard them make the argument that the confession shouldn't be believed because they're too comprehensive. He gives too much information. Like, no one would actually write all that out. So it's like they want to have it both ways. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm asking people to do is give people the credibility that they've earned. When somebody talks to you and they say a whole bunch of nonsense and you realize halfway through, this person's just making stuff up, then in the future, when they tell you things, treat them accordingly. Like, this is not someone that should be taken seriously.
All right. Alishness is calling in. Alishness, I have two questions for you. Do you believe Tyler Robinson is guilty?
Yeah.
Were we pussies that wouldn't allow you to call in?
Yeah, because you said you weren't going to talk to me again, so I took that to mean you weren't.
Are you on this call right now?
Well, I was assuming you were going to.
Are you on this call right now?
I suppose so, yeah.
So if you agree with the subject we're talking about, and you said we were pussies and wouldn't have you call in, but when we assumed you wanted to disagree with us, we said call in. Does that seem that we're being pussies?
I mean, maybe. I mean, see, my question.
All right.
Okay. Moving on.
So, next up, intense subject, $5 says, don't forget, guys, Tyler Robinson's a patsy. The Society of Bees did it. Trust me, bro. It came from Candace Owens' own dreams.
I mean, Rob, can you disprove that a Society of Bees did it? Can you produce one shred of evidence that it was not a Society of Bees, Rob? One shred of evidence.
You know what I think happened? Have you ever got stung by a bee and your finger or something swells up a little? I have a theory. I have a theory that maybe Candace got stung, and that's why she's blaming the bees. Maybe she got stung in a very sensitive area, which caused some swelling. Or maybe she is what she's accusing Bridget Macron of. Maybe. And then maybe she was at the bees, the Mormon bee place, buying some honey or something. Allegedly. Just asking questions. And maybe she popped an erection there, and the bee guy saw it. So she allegedly, possibly, just asking questions, was involved in assassinating Charlie Kirk to blame the Mormon bee people so that they couldn't come forward with evidence of her erection. It's possible. We have not seen proof to the. Has anyone seen footage of her not having an erection?
Well, listen,
like a
Rob,
penis.
I don't know. All I'm going to say, Rob, is I have no proof to the contrary. So obviously, we should launch an investigation into this, because this theory is just as credible as any of the other theories that are thrown around that say that people want to investigate. So I think you're onto something, Rob. I think we should launch an investigation and a podcast on Spotify. Not because all good investigations deserve a Spotify podcast.
Look at Patrick Bet David's eyes there. Doesn't he look shocked? I think he needs to go on record. Did Candace Owens' penis brush against your leg? Were there Mormon bee? Were there Egyptian planes overhead? Were there any Jewish folks on scene? Any Frenchmen? Frankists? Perhaps some Frankists? Has anyone had a dream about this? Possibly someone had a dream about the fact that this could happen. We're just asking questions.
I mean, she might have been
just asking
she
questions,
was
that's all.
signaling the Egyptian planes. That's what the erection was all about. That was the
Just
signal.
asking questions. It's just questions. By the way, that was Constantine Kissen. One of the things I said is, I think the fact that people like Andrew and us, to a lesser extent, but still, were like pushing back against this all week on the trial. You're starting to see more normie people like Constantine Kissen be like, yeah, this is a fucking joke. Another one is, did you see Ben Shapiro?
Oh, yes.
I'll just
That
play a
was
little
good.
clip of this. It's very good.
That was good.
This would require a cover up, like a big cover up, right? I mean, like, that's what everyone says when you theorize this. Who would cover it up? Like, who would help cover it up? Here's the thing. We know that Candace is skilled in the art of the cover up. For example, public accusations and document trails have emerged directly naming her husband, George Farmer, in a high stakes hit and run cover up in August of 2023 involving a victim named Tracy Robinson.
Oh.
Ooh.
Wait, Robinson. Does that name sound familiar?
It does.
George Farmer
You hooked me in.
hit somebody in his car, maybe named Robinson. How many Robinsons even are there in the world? How many Robinsons, like Tyler Robinson, have Candace and her husband had contact with? Statistically, something like 1 in every 600 Americans is named Robinson. But you're telling me, you're trying to tell me that Candace and George are involved in 2 separate scandals with people named Robinson?
What are the odds?
That's like the odds of a lightning strike twice while you're standing on top of a volcano. Let's use some common sense here, people. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. The documented profile in that case.
Wow. That's shocking.
Damning.
I don't know what to say. Like, anyone who disagrees with that is clearly just buying into the Fed slop. It's just Fed slop. They're buying into the Fed slop. They're on the side of the government. That's what's happening. If you question that, you're on the side of the government. You were for lockdowns. You bought into all the COVID shit, right?
I mean, the thing about this is I actually offered to debate that prompt. Like, I was like, there is as much evidence that Candace Owens was in on it as whatever alternative theory you're promoting. And the reason I was willing to take that prompt is not because I think Candace Owens is in on it. To be clear, I don't think Candace Owens is in on it. It's just that there's no evidence for any of this shit. They're just making it all up. Like, so if we're going to make stuff up, there's as much evidence for that as there is for Egyptian planes or, Israel or Netanyahu or whatever other nonsense. What's Barron's thing? He likes the multi-agency cover-up. That's what he likes. Like, these are theories with no evidentiary support whatsoever. And if we're going to be in the realm of coming up with theories with no evidence, you can say whatever you want. They're all equal. They have no evidence.
And I agree, like, obviously, I will say, I believe Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. That's what I believe, And so, but it gets to the point of the absurd. And look, it's even from the perspective, if you're watching and you really hate Israel, like, Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes criticizes Israel probably more than anyone, right? Mm-hmm. He's out there, and he's been out there, to his credit, the whole time, like, this is fucking insane. This is insane. And and you understand why he would be saying it. Because as detrimental as Candace Owens and Baron Coleman and Ian Carroll has been to us as the following groups, like sort of streamers, because they're discrediting streamers, conservatives, because they took this moment that could have unified against the violent left, and they're repeating the rhetoric that the left wants them to repeat. But the group even more hurt is sort of the anti-Israel right. Like someone like Nick Fuentes, it's like, you make me look like a fucking idiot just being associated with you in any way. Just because they may believe Israel has a lot of influence on foreign policy decisions doesn't mean that every time something negative happens in the United States, it's because of Israel. And when you run with that contrarian belief, what happens is that shit's easy to disprove. And then someone says, well, if this was clearly bullshit about the Israel killed Charlie Kirk, then it's probably bullshit that Israel had anything to do with Trump deciding to go into Iran. But maybe not. That's sort of a fallacious argument. But you can see how people would get that impression. Because they're going to lump everyone together and, oh, you're all just fucking Israel bad people. Mm-hmm. And so Nick Fuentes is out there like, no, I'm not associated with these fucking lunatics. They're ridiculous. And even to his credit again, he was like, I criticized Charlie Kirk or Erica Kirk for the ceremony, but he's like, my God, this woman, she's owed an apology. What they're doing to her is horrible. And it is. It's fucking grotesque. And they don't have any proof. Like, their proof to the extent of Erica being involved is like, we don't think she grieved the way we liked. And that's fucked up. To use that to then say, therefore, we think she's involved with this murder. By the way, if you remember, if you go back and look at Candace Owens, she was saying, the only two people that could get me to stop is my husband or Erica Kirk. And so then Erica Kirk reached out, was like, please stop. And so did Candace stop? She was like, no, Erica's in on it.
Yep.
That's what happened. And it's like, anyone who's not like watching this picture develop, it's like, how could you do that? Imagine the pain of losing your spouse and then having fucking thousands upon thousands of people threatening you because they say you killed him. It's shocking. And they don't give a fuck. They're raking 22,000 people are watching Baron Coleman right now. So, you know.
Well, and mark my words, Rob. In 2028, in the next couple of years, here's what you're going to see. There's always going to be a faction on the modern right that is skeptical of foreign entanglement and is therefore skeptical of Israel because that's a foreign entanglement, right? That's going to exist.
Me, I'm in that group.
Yeah. On the left, you're going to see virulent anti-Semitism. And these are not the same thing. They're not the same thing. But there's going to be people like Z and Unfuck America and like Act Blue, whatnot, that want to conflate the two because they're not going to want to have to deal with being openly anti-Semitic the way that people like in like Zoran Mandami's administration, people that are like being promoted within prominent Democratic establishments. This is how I see the landscape breaking in the next couple of years. I don't think we're there yet, but I think that's what it's going to look like in the future. And this is why it's a kind of, there's a leftist propaganda strain to this, right? Because in the long run, that's where the left looks like they're going. And I think the right can avoid these pitfalls. The right can do better. So it would be good if we did. And just to be totally clear, because people always misunderstand me when I make this point, I am not criticizing anybody for criticizing Israel or saying we should have less foreign entanglements. That's fine. But there's a difference between the two things. And the difference gets blurred by this conspiratard nonsense. And I don't know. I just think we on the right can do better than this, to be totally honest with you. I just think we can. Sorry, this is totally off topic, but I just want to point out, I'm just fucking stunned. The level of support this show is getting and from you guys watching it, I think between your side and my side, Rob, we're at like 800 live at this point.
It's crazy.
That's unbelievable. And I remember when you and I would do this show for like 100 people, 200 people. Like, so God bless everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much. And thank you for the overwhelming support. It's very humbling. And,
well, wait, if we've doubled the amount of people that watch us, that means that we have to be right on our legal takes, right? That's you're right. Well, the old Baron Coleman, 800 people are watching us. We must be right. Like
we're at least twice as right as we were last week.
That's right. Which we weren't very right then anyway.
It's also really funny when people who are like, look, no shade. I've been a 5-viewer Andy. Like I was a 5-viewer Andy for a while, right?
Years I was. Yeah.
But at the same time, like I didn't run around being like, like because I've got 5 viewers, I'm 5 viewers smarter than someone with 0 viewers, right? And yet now people who don't even have a show are running around saying Baron Coleman has 22,000. You fucking schmucks. Okay, thanks. We got it.
The thing is too, right? Like, I think that we've hit, this is just my prediction, then we'll get back to super chats. I promise we'll read them all. I think that we've hit the high water mark on this, the Charlie Kirk conspiracies. I think that I think the Sean Ryan interview was the peak. Mm-hmm. That it was like, and then we saw, and I think, the prelim, and I think you saw people start to be like, now you're seeing people coming out of the woodwork that otherwise would have been quiet, right? You're seeing, Constantine Kissen coming out, like making fun of Candace. Sean Strickland, who's a big person that's like, he's like, yeah, this is fucking stupid. Like, and so I think that, it's sad to say this, but look, there is a lot, there are a lot of people really afraid of Candace Owens. And I think, this is just my opinion, I don't have proof, but my reading of the text messages that Candace released between her and Charlie, and then Andrew Colvett, who was second in command or whatever, TP, I don't know what his title is, but Charlie's friend, who was there with Charlie, I believe Colvett's probably right. That Charlie was like, she's a liability. We don't want her as an enemy. We want to placate her. throw her a bone every once in a while and be like, hey, Candace, did you see this? Haha. Yeah, we'll see you next month, right? Just so she doesn't start in on them. Because it truly, to me, and now granted, I'm reading into it and it's my bias, but that's how it seems to me. And I believe Colvin when he says that. And I do know this for a fact. There are a lot of people. Candace Owens is, quite honestly, a bit malicious, I think. And I think that she has some pretty rabid fans, and she's got a big audience, and she's got a large war chest. And you don't want to be the guy that comes out and it's like, fuck you, you're wrong. And then all of a sudden get the ire of that community when you're by yourself. But there's safety in numbers. And so when you see other people that are coming out, and they're like maybe an Andrew Wilson, and then maybe Turning Point themselves. Andrew Colvin starts pushing back a little more. And then maybe you see people like Konstantin Kisin and then Ben Shapiro. Now you're starting to see, I think, the wave push back, where it's like, look, the evidence is overwhelming that a lot of what you people were saying is a Hail Mary at best. And you guys were so vindictive, and you went after this grieving wife. And that's how I see it. I think that's, and I could be wrong, but for me, I think as this goes on, you're going to keep hearing the screeching. The screeching will get louder, but the actual power that it has, I think more people that maybe, the diehards are going to be there no matter what. They'll be there 20 years from now. But maybe the more normie people are like, wait a minute, maybe there's something to this. Can a 30-06 do this? I think they're going to start peeling off. I think they're going to be like,
They have to. And part of the great utility of Andrew getting involved in this, and partially I just think he was pissed off because he recognizes the political importance of Turning Point and how the destruction of Turning Point is a just victory for leftists everywhere, right? So that's, I think that's a clear thing that irritated him.
Maybe I shouldn't say this because maybe it's personal. I'll be vague about this. I have not had a conversation with Andrew about this, but, and again, maybe I'm overstepping here, but I think what Andrew and his wife went through with losing a loved one and then being blamed for the loss of that loved one probably triggers something when you see that happening to another person that at least to some degrees is a contemporary, right? It's in the same field as you. So for me, it's like, I think, because everyone was like, and by the way, it's been other people that Nick Fuentes was like, Erica Kirk shit at leading. Andrew said Erica Kirk
Andrew said that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not mutually exclusive. Like, what's happening here is fucked up. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. I could say, for example, I could be like, Ryan's dog shit on his channel, but if someone's like swatting him, I'd say, well, that's fucked up. Those two things, you see how that's not mutually exclusive? And so people are like, well, how could you go down and get paid to, me and Andrew if first off, maybe this is even worse than criticizing Erica Kirk. I just didn't pay attention. Is that worse? I didn't take a stance on it because I was like, oh, it's a grieving woman and she's given this mammoth organization and is probably struggling. I get it. I would struggle. That was basically my take on it. But nonetheless, it's like, well, because we think what's happening is fucked up, and hey, you're just going down and helping people debate. It wasn't like we went down there under the auspices of like, let's crush this Candace Owens theories. I went down there to help people debate. That's what I did. Yeah. It barely came up. We talked more about immigration and abortion and apologetics than we did anything else. So, I mean, but I don't know. The whole thing's fucked up. And I think there are a lot of people that were afraid. You didn't want to get on the other side of that. And I hesitate to blame Candace for the extremeness of her supporters. But at some point, it's just true. There are communities like that. There, like someone we've dealt with. There are people afraid to deal with Destiny because sometimes his audience could be rabid, or Hassan because his audience could be rabid, or Nick Fuentes because they think his audience could be rabid. And I think Candace has some of that reputation. These people,
I mean, look, like if DGG does insane stuff, like you know that they're going to do insane stuff. It's kind of baked into the cake. I think the thing though about having, and this is why TPUSA, I mean, I wasn't at the meeting, so this is just me from the outside looking in, but why TPUSA was motivated to ask Andrew and you to come down is that Charlie was a lot of things, but one of the things he was a debater. So when crazy people start saying crazy things, Charlie could always default to, well, you want to talk about it? Just like we said, you want to talk about it? Crickets. Fucking crickets, because it would be tough to go up to Charlie and make a bullshit claim and leave that conversation unscathed. He was a nice guy. He wasn't like he wasn't like a blood sport debater, but you would look foolish in that conversation. And having, people like Andrew, you, me coming out and being like, oh, you want to talk about it? In our, we're small fish compared to like Andrew, compared to bigger players. But, I think that changes the game. Where it's like, okay, the hearing happened. We saw the evidence. We're now equipped to have a conversation because we saw what the evidence is. You want to have a serious conversation about what happened? And it turns out they don't. And I think people see that. I think people see that, like, these people live in echo chambers and cannot have a challenging conversation and will not have a challenging conversation. And they know that they don't want to have a challenging conversation.
Yeah. Let's read some more super chats. On my Rumble, Werbs for $5 says, you have it all wrong. The Jews did a gain-of-function research on a zombie ant fungus, causing it to evolve and took control of Tyler's body. You forgot to include pangolins. If we're going to do gain-of-function, you got to include the pangolins in there somewhere. By the way, did you even know what a pangolin was before COVID?
No. But that's as good a theory as any I've heard.
Yeah. Silver lining about COVID. I got to learn about the pangolin. So, Crow Crisis. Give some membership on me. Thank you. I appreciate it. JW Thorpe, I'm so sorry, says, because the defense attorneys are in on it.
Obviously.
Yes.
No other possible explanation.
Single Dads Club, thanks so much for the 20, says, it won't go to trial. The biggest evidence was destroyed. Lindsey Graham. Russia and Israel teamed up to knock out the real perp because Graham was going to sing like a canary. It was Lindsey all along. Too soon. I made a Lindsey joke today. First off, rest in peace, Lindsey Graham. I sincerely mean that. I was not a big fan of him politically, but the guy seemed like I don't know if you heard this. Like, first off, his net worth at the time of his passing is like 1.4 million, which is shockingly low
for a senator,
in our day and age for someone who's been in the Senate. Apparently, he took care of like his sister and her family. So maybe a dude that I did not agree with some on politics, but maybe a decent dude. I don't know. Regardless, everyone has family, so I do. Prayers go out to his family. That sucks that he died suddenly like that. It really does. But I did make a joke where I was like, I feel like Lindsey Graham is at the pearly gates right now, rating St. Peter a strongly worded letter. The old go-to Lindsey Graham. I have the strongest worded letter you've ever seen to let me in here. So.
Yeah. Did you see? Did you see Alexander Dugin on Lindsey Graham's death?
No.
Oh, this is like the thing about Dugin is whether you're interested in his writings or not. Can you share this? Mm-hmm. You've got to remember that this guy is like he's in it for Putin, right? Like, this is a pro-Russia supremacy guy. So I can't do a good Russian accent. I don't know if you can, but the sudden death of Lindsey Graham can be the black mark sent to Trump. I doubt it were Iranians. Most realistic, it was Mossad job in order to push Trump to renew full-scale war with Iran. It clearly means, quote, you are the next. Lindsey Graham was the shadow of Trump, his black self.
His black like, sup, fool? It's me, Lindsey Graham. I'm Trump's black self. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what I mean. This is a guy who's like trying to agitate for Russia on the world stage, and he's like, what should I say about the death of Lindsey Graham when his heart failed? It was probably the Jews. Like, it's everybody. Like, you can't escape it. It's just everywhere you go, everything you do. That's just the world we're in right now.
If I became a VTuber tomorrow and literally just like Babylon Bee style blame Jews for everything, I'd probably have 500 people watching me by the end of the month if I stream like 5 days a week. There's an audience for it, man. And it's mind-blowing. And, I mentioned this on my channel yesterday. Whatever you think
of, what would your VTuber icon be?
I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Maybe a dinosaur holding a whip or some shit like that.
That's good. That's good. An anti-Semitic dinosaur holding a whip.
Yes,
people would watch the shit out of that.
Have a little mustache. Yeah,
you'd be a millionaire by the end of the month.
But like, whatever you think of Alex Jones with the Sandy Hook thing, right? Like, I personally don't think he's too sorry. By the way, I think that it was absurd that he had to pay as much as he did. I thought it was fucking ridiculous. Nonetheless, right? When he had his like mea culpa on Joe Rogan, where he's like, look, I believe that at least part of what he's saying is true there, where he's like, I started to go down this fucking rabbit hole, and you just spiral. And everything, all of a sudden it rains outside, and you're like, must be fucking HARP. They're controlling the ionosphere to rain because they knew I was golfing today. The sons of bitches, and it's like, at some point you got to be like, whoa, like, not everything is this shadowy conspiracy. Sometimes tornadoes happen. Sometimes people's heart give out. Sometimes someone gets robbed and shot. It's not always that there was like shadowy men planning in a government facility just to fuck over this one person. That doesn't mean that you can't ask questions and that it's not healthy to have a healthy distrust. That's all fine. But when you find yourself thinking that every little thing, even in response to overwhelming evidence, is like some deep-rooted conspiracy, and to the point where it's like now it's involving the parents of the alleged, person, the defense attorneys of the alleged criminal. It's like at some point you got to be like, really? Have you just gone off the deep end a little too much? And there is something psychologically about wanting to be contrarian and be in the know. And you're one of the elite. You figured it out, and everyone else is the stupid plebe normie, and you're above it all. I get it. I felt that way from time to time. Like on COVID, I felt like that about shit. But my goodness, I wonder if Alex would. I don't know. What's Alex's take on this? I haven't seen. Has he stayed out of it, or does anyone know in the chat? Is Alex on like? Does he think that it's all conspiracy? I've seen some people like Jimmy Dore's all in on this is a bullshit conspiracy. It was definitely not Tyler Robinson. So,
yeah, I think from what I've seen, Alex has been too busy feuding with Sneeko of all people.
It's perfect. The Sneeko, oh my goodness. One of my all-time favorite debates. A masterclass in trolling by Alex Jones. I don't even know that I could play any of it on YouTube, but you go to X and just type in Alex Jones Sneeko, and if you have 40 minutes or so, enjoy, grab some popcorn. You're not going to learn anything, but you laugh your ass off. It's very...
It's like watching like really, really good Jesse Lee content where you're like,
amazing. Yeah. Blasterbot, 13 months member says, Rob was busy with Dinogate. He couldn't do it. That's right. I'm innocent. On your end, Truth Revolt, $5 says, do you think Erica Kirk and Turning Point has a good case against Candace and others and make this an Alex Jones, Sandy Hook situation? Well, there you go.
It's possible. I have not... I don't watch a lot of Candace stuff because it drives me fucking crazy. I had to watch some Barron stuff to prep for the hearings, so I became aware of him that way. But it depends how careful she is about doing the thing that Barron does. Barron is actually, to his credit, pretty careful about going like, well, I'm saying, but I'm not really saying it. Allegedly, look, it's just one man's opinion. Like he puts a lot of disclaimers on things. Candace, from what I've seen, is a bit less careful. Candace will like come out and say like, this is true. Yeah. And so she said some wild stuff. It's totally possible that after a conviction, in a few years, TPUSA does litigate against her. There's a little bit of a feeding the bear thing there, because if you litigate against her, she's gonna make content on it. But Alex Jones tried to do that, and you saw how that went. So there's risks there for the person who's making content about, I'm being sued, because, that can turn into making your legal woes worse. So it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's always the case, right? Like, and you as an attorney, you know this better than anyone. Sometimes someone does things that maybe it's actionable and you would win in court and you still don't take it there. Or sometimes you settle because even though you're right and you would eventually win, it's going to cost you more money to go through the process. So is it worth keeping this story alive for 2-3 years after a conviction? I don't think they probably want to do much before the conviction before the case would be my guess.
It's tough. This is more of like this in the weeds legal thing, but to prove defamation, given that these are very public figures, you would need to prove both actual malice that Candace knew she was lying, right? And falsehood. And proving falsehood is a little bit tricky before the trial. Because like, how do you prove what the truth is before that point?
Yeah, it hasn't even been adjudicated what the truth is.
Exactly.
So, I see it. Jefferson, on your end, $2 says, defense proving a theory is a risky burden shift. Yeah, I mean, definitely true.
They're not obligated. The defense is not obligated to do anything. In a criminal case, the defense can let the government talk, stand up at the end, and just say they didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt and sit back down. They're under no obligation.
I'll say this. I agree with that, obviously. Maybe I'm misreading what you meant by this. When I say that I'm interrogating the theory of a Baron Coleman or of a Candace Owens, that's not the same as saying the prosecution is interrogating the defense's theory necessarily, right? If Baron Coleman says, I think that 100% Tyler Robinson was set up, it's fair for us to be like, okay, you've made an affirmative claim. We want to ask questions. What does that look like, right? That's different than if we're in a court of law, obviously, right? Like, even if you're presenting a counter theory as a defense, you could still win the defense without proving that theory, right? In fact, that's probably quite a common tactic that's used. Like, we give you some sort of reasonable doubt that maybe this other person did it. I don't have to prove he did it beyond a reasonable doubt. I just have to say that there is a reasonable doubt it wasn't my client.
Yeah.
And maybe that reasonable doubt is Jim over here might have done it. And so then the jury's like, well, I think it's only a 5% chance Jim did it, but it could be. So,
and this is, but you said this earlier, but it's an important distinction, because at the probable cause hearing, if the defense stood up and said, well, isn't it possible someone else did it? That actually doesn't really impact probable cause that much, because we just have to have a reason. It has to be reasonable to believe that Tyler Robinson did it. You could have two reasonable beliefs, but even if they're contradictory, they could both be reasonable.
right.
But at the trial, beyond a reasonable doubt, all of a sudden alternative theories have more weight. By the way, this is breaking news. I don't know if Ian Carroll is a fan of the show, but since Ian Carroll declined to debate Andrew Wilson on this topic, Modern Day Debate has graciously asked whether Ian Carroll would be willing to debate little old me on this topic. Now, spoiler alert, Ian Carroll is not going to say yes to this. Guarantee you he's not going to say yes to this. But I just would like to go on record now and say I would be delighted. Little old me. I'm mostly harmless. I would be thrilled. So if you're available Sunday, Ian, I'll make myself available.
Yeah, I mean, Modern Day Debate did the same thing. They asked, I can never remember his name, Lionel, if he would like to debate me on it. I'll bring this up. And I'll even go a step further. I will say that any of them could debate either of any of us one-on-one, or if you're more comfortable doing it with a partner or something, that's fine too.
2-on-2.
We could do 2-on-2. That's fine. And Modern Day Debate's very fair. They'll moderate fairly.
Yeah, if you don't want to debate Andrew Wilson, I think Rob and I would be. And I don't care. I don't want to speak for you, Rob, but like if it's Lionel, Ian Carroll, 2-on-2, this is irrelevant to me. I don't care. So
it could be 3-on-2 or 4-on-2. I don't care.
I am delighted. If they're willing to show up, I will definitely be there. I will say they will not accept this.
Of course not.
There's no chance they're going to accept this. But,
and I really, now think about that. If you're one of their, like, I don't want to be a dick. Like, sometimes online debating is not as easy as it may look back home. Right? Because it's like you're watching football and you're like, why didn't Tom Brady throw that blatantly open receiver? It's like, well, it may have to do with those 300-pound men barreling down on him, like in the moment, and he had half. But when you're at home, you're like, shit, I would have threw to that guy. Debate could be like that. I'm not likening ourselves to Tom Brady, but it could be like that. You're like, well, I would have said this. Yeah, but then your opponent would have probably said this, and you didn't anticipate that. Point I'm trying to make is this. These people that are like the faces of this, they don't want to do these debates. What happens is you get these people that listen to them. They're like, we'll do the debates. And they're not faring so well. They're looking pretty poorly when they come on and they make arguments, whether it be on channels like ours or with Andrew Wilson or on Spaces or other people calling in. I've seen Moderate Case was a guy called in my show the other day. I watched some clips of some dude calling in and just devastating, not doing well. And so please, Ian, Candace, Baron, step up. Don't let your supporters keep getting smacked around on this. Step up to the plate, right? Set the example. By the way, what have you got to lose if you think you're right? Right? That's what I don't understand. You know, I said that I believed in conspiracies. Like, I believe that Hunter Biden was acting as a go-between between his father and his status as vice president and senator and then president with foreign actors and he was acting as a foreign lobbyist. I believe that. He was never charged for it. I believed it. If Hunter Biden publicly said, Rob Nor, I challenge you to a debate on this, I'd be like, oh my goodness, yes. Like today, right now. Or even if it was like, well, my attorney, oh shit, what's the name of one of the guys, like these attorneys that are working for them? Mark Elias. My attorney, Mark Elias, once, I'd say, yes, let's do the debate. So I don't understand these people that are like, oh, yeah, we're so confident. Why wouldn't you go out? You're like Andrew Wilson's Turning Point's paid shield. Good, crush him. Yeah. Boy, how embarrassing would that be for Turning Point? How embarrassing. Now, as far as I know, Andrew hasn't been hired except for the one event I did with him to help coach debate. But I don't fucking know. Regardless, they believe he's paid by Turning Point. So why not crush him? It's not just some random. You may even say to me and Ryan, you're randos. You're just random dudes. You're not in Turning Point's payroll. I mean, I did get paid at one point by Turning Point. So maybe that provides incentive to debate me. But even if you think we're just randos, what about Andrew? You think he's he's big enough to be in the map. He's been on Joe Rogan. Why not debate him? And it's because they know they're not comfortable with their position. They're comfortable in their little isolated bubble with their audience that they can control what they're telling them.
Look, here's the dirty secret about debate. Offense is easier than defense.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable playing offense. They like to come up with theories and nitpick and try to be like, well, what about this? I'm just asking questions. But in a actual debate, or even like not even a debate, but like in a real conversation, like in a Joe Rogan style podcast, or like a real sit down conversation, at a certain point, you're going to have to actually defend your view, not just come up with theories and attack, like the state's evidence, or, you're going to actually have to defend what you believe, and they can't do that, and they won't do that. And that's why these conversations will not happen. And that's why I'm comfortable saying there's just no chance that they're going to debate Andrew. They're not going to debate you. They're not going to debate me. They're not going to debate any, I'm positive that Nick Rekieta would debate people on this.
Yes,
I'm positive
of course
Andrea
he would.
Burkhart would debate.
Yep.
All the bigger legal commentators, I'm sure they would have a conversation. And if they're not debaters, they'd have a conversation because people feel strongly about this who are following it, and they'd be delighted to do it. But these people are not going to take us up on it. They're just not.
Yeah, and to be clear, I just want to be clear. I'm an arrogant son of a bitch. Don't get me wrong. And I'm also selfish and greedy and all that shit. Yeah, it's all true. Like all humans. But it doesn't have to be me. I'm more than happy for it never to be me. It would be nice to get some people that are knowledgeable enough about the case that want to debate from our side of perspective to talk to people that claim to be knowledgeable of the case and have a big audience on the. It'd be nice to see that debate with anyone, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be me, you, or Andrew. It would be nice to just see some of these big people have their theory on both sides. Question.
Yeah.
I think that would be nice.
And big
the fact
debate
that
platforms
it's
are
not
begging for it. They're begging for it.
It was, I mean, for goodness sakes, there are people throwing out tens of thousands of dollars trying to get these people in the debate sphere. And even with that money, I'm like, it ain't happening. Candace Owens ain't going on whatever podcast to debate anyone. It doesn't matter. You could throw her $1 million. She ain't going.
No.
The grift is worth more than that. She doesn't want to get in. At this point, it's not even about the money for her. Not just because she's rich, but because it is part of her identity that this has to be true now. And
it's
she
her brand.
Can't get
Yeah.
embarrassed. Look at that. I must have said something that sounded like Siri. My phone started yelling.
Oh, there we go. I was like, who's this lady who's bossing us
Don't
around?
tell my wife. As always, we're doing a very poor job with Superchats.
Holy
Let's
shit,
try
we're
to
doing very bad.
Perry Incorporated, $20 is Rob. Good to see you. And Ryan, you as well. Hope you're all well. Gonna have you on the TV, on the, I assume that was TV. Our background while I work.
Yeah.
Thank you, Perry.
Thank you,
we
buddy.
appreciate it. Crow Crisis on your end, $10 says, stand strong. Don't listen to your coworker. Jefferson, $2 says, but Rob, the major FBI tip is from IP Freely.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
Mr. Freely is a credible witness.
Yeah. Blasterbot, $5 says, plus 10 gay points. Rob, listen to the latest Taylor Swift song.
Oh, Rob, you got 10 points.
Now, I will say real quick about this. There's a Taylor Swift song. As we know, she's now married to, I think, Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's brother played in the NFL as well. And so there's this Taylor Swift song called Knock on Wood. And it's about a certain part of Travis Kelce's anatomy, right? And apparently there's a funny clip where Travis Kelce's brother's like, how's it feel to have like a popular song about your penis? And Travis is like, that's not what that song's about. And he's like, let's go through the lyrics. And Travis is just like, ugh, this is embarrassing.
Oh.
So I'm aware that that song exists and sucks, but that's all I could tell you.
Well, you know one Taylor Swift song, and it's about penis. So yeah, I think 10 gay points is about right.
That might be more than 10. Truth or Volt in your end. $5 says, this is worth the price of memberships, folks. Thank you. We both appreciate it.
We're doing
Less
what we
than
can.
Sill, $2 says, is the song on iTunes?
Yeah, that was a Zero Fucks exclusive. I posted it on my X. I'm gonna have to turn that into I've got to find a good clip and turn that into a stream asset so that I can use that in the future. Because Zero Fucks really outdid himself on that one. That's a banger.
Dude, yeah, the assets are where it's at. Like, here, I'll show you one. You know what explains everything that we're talking about here tonight? Here's what you failed to take into account. You might have strong evidence on your side, but if you consider Jews, now I'm good. Now I'm speaking the truth. I feel like I could just play that clip like for an hour and be like, all right, we'll see y'all later.
Evergreen clip.
Our good friend Alishness on your channel for $5 says the left are crazy. Meanwhile, some crackhead prophet said she opened a portal above the White House Mar-a-Lago so God could talk to Trump. For fuck's sakes. Yeah, there are certainly people on the right that are crazy as well. The difference is we are calling out the people on the right that we see like that. You are one of those crazies on the left. That's the difference. So
there you go.
Malkovich Microsoft, there's a name on your end for 10.
That's a good name.
Yeah. Love how Alishness is lecturing us about right-wing sanity. The same Al once ice murked when it was a left-winger who deleted Charlie in the first place. Where'd you get the balls? Yeah, and then it was half the left that celebrated and attacked his memorials and left-wing institutions that said, well, he was a fascist. By the way, the same rhetoric that Alishness used, fascist, that term, to justify attacking ICE officers. So yeah, please. This is what you say to those people. Please. We don't care. Jefferson, $2 a million, says Tyler thought the car wash was Grand Theft Auto paint spray. Yeah, I could see that. Oh, I'll lose all my stars if I just pull in here.
I mean, he did say that if he got the rifle, he there was no evidence, and now that it's like he's on video of the car wash. He's not a criminal mastermind. Let's put it that way.
Alishness, $2 again on your side. Quick question: who won the 2020 election? It was not Stacey Abrams. I remember that. Straight ripping. $2 says any truth to the car dual exhaust being different. I don't know what they're saying. I do know this, that the evidence is overwhelming that the car that they got was Tyler Robinson's car that matched the VIN numbers, that matched the video, that matched they got the fucking dashboard cam.
They ran the plate.
They got the plate. So is there I don't know where exactly they're getting their theory. Has the picture been altered that one has two exhausts and the other has one? I don't know. Is it a completely different picture of a car? I have no clue. But this is the type of shit that happens. I could go in and digitally alter a smudged picture of the person who they were trying to identify on campus to make his face look more like mine, and then say, here's the face of the person on campus, and here's Tyler Robinson. See, they don't match. And then that goes viral. So I don't know where the fuck they're getting the dual exhaust thing.
Well, and again, I just want to point this out because it's the evergreen point that you should make when you hear this stuff. Let's say that was true. Hypothetically, let's grant that in one of the pictures there's a dual exhaust and it's supposed to be a single exhaust. You think the defense team just missed that? They're sitting there in court, they're looking at the pictures, they just didn't realize it was a different car, and they didn't introduce evidence about this point. They didn't, like, for example, introduce evidence of what the car really looks like. They took a picture of it and say, like, look, it has one exhaust, that car has two. Like, these are lawyers who are there very seriously trying to defend their client's life. And, quite frankly, if there was exculpatory evidence that this was not his car, I expect that they would have said something about it, but they didn't. And this is until we start seeing them take it seriously. I don't know why I would take it seriously.
Yeah, and it's fine. I get it. These sleuths. I mean, this shit happens all the time, though, right? Like, there is people make like how many times will you see like, oh my gosh, Ryan, did you see Trump bombed Iran tonight? Here's footage. And then there'll be a community note like 2 days later. It's like, this was footage from a 2017 strike in Kosovo. But everybody, for 3 days, people were talking about it. So I don't know. I'm willing to sit here and listen to someone go with the to exhaust theory. I'm happy to do it, right? No problem. All I'm saying is it's so hard to keep up with each little thing, right? There's always another little thing. You know, tomorrow there'll be a waitress that saw, 3 bald men getting out of Tyler's car to order ham and eggs and fucking, then you got to deal with that. So I don't know. Jefferson, $2 on your part says, I advocate penmanship to young kids at work.
And that's the real that's the real travesty here, is that note was just terrible handwriting.
Yeah.
God.
J.W. Thorpe, $10 says, I was joking in my last super chat. My wife informed me of the needed clarification. What was your last super chat? See, this is the problem when we're an hour and a half late reading them.
Because the defense attorneys are in on it.
Oh, right. Yeah, we got it. We got the joke. So maybe someone in the audience said, Scorpio, $20. We thank you. And then the great Mr. B, $20 says, Asmund Golden's had the best argument for the chase burging. It works every time. If Israel was gone tomorrow, would all the libs ride against ICE, support terrorists, and want your kids transition? Yes. Yes. The answer is obviously yes. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it is a good idea. James, on your end, $5 says, they also
I think you meant no, but you said yes, which makes it actually much funnier.
If Israel was gone tomorrow, would all libs I thought it was, would they riot against ICE? Yes, they would riot against ICE, support terrorists. But yes, no, they would not.
Can somebody please clip that out of context?
No, don't clip it. No, they would continue to riot against ICE. They would continue to support terrorists. They would continue to want your kids transition. That's absolutely true. And it's why I never understood. It's even this shit happened where it's like, from a Christian perspective, this shit was happening that was like, well, if the Jews are bad, the Muslims must be good. Like, that was happening there for a bit. And you're like, huh? What? Like, you know? So when we see like the grooming gang scandal in the United Kingdom, like, there are people pushing back like, well, really? Because this sounds like a Jewish conspiracy. And it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. I think that, like, we've been talking about this for 30 fucking years, and these communities have been devastated. And I don't know. James, okay.
This is actually why I was saying earlier, I was predicting that in the long run, the Israel thing is going to become a leftist point, and the right is going to take a more nuanced position. And part of the reason that I was saying that is that geopolitically, and I might piss off some people saying this, but like, what is it that America gets out of our relationship with Israel? Like, what's the big perk that America gets? It's that Israel fights Muslim nations for us. That's the perk. Like that's the big perk. And the left is not going to want that to keep happening in the long run.
Well,
that's So.
Now I have different opinions, but I'll say, I think that for me, the stronger point is the left argues now, and I call it like cultural Marxism. The classic left argument is just like, here is our in-group, and if you're outside of our in-group, you're evil. Now, we can make our in-group anything. We can make it based on race. We can make it based on gender. We can make it based on sexual orientation. So gays good, straights bad. Blacks good, whites bad. Muslims good, Christians bad, right? So that's part and parcel to how they argue. And so they're able to say nothing has to make sense. Nothing has to add up if the one side's evil. So the Jews are evil. That's it. It doesn't have to add up. You could say like, oh, wait a minute. I think Tyler Robinson did this. Yeah, but the Jews are evil. So, right? You see? So they're bad. So, and the right doesn't argue like that as much. And so I think that's why you're seeing there are people on the right doing this, the Candace Owens, but you're seeing a fracture. You're seeing people on the right, like Nick Fuentes, that don't like Israel at all, that don't like Turning Point. They're like, this is fucking crazy. Because that's not how he's trying to argue. He's trying to argue like, here are the things that they've done that I don't like. That doesn't mean that they're wrong in everything that they've ever done forever.
Ever, yeah.
And that's, to me, like the difference in the argument. That's why it's more likely to continue as a movement on the left. And by the way, it's getting more and more ridiculous. If I had to ask everyone in the chat right now, take into account Nick Fuentes and Dan Blazarian and Candace Owens and Ian Carroll and anyone else you want on the right, and what they feel about Israel, and then what the left feels about Israel. So think about all that for a second. And if I said there will be a candidate for one of the major parties that says that we need to totally break off our relationship with Israel and Israel should cease to exist, is that candidate more likely to win a primary as a Republican or a Democrat?
Yeah.
Democrat.
Easily.
It is mainstreamed in the Democrat Party.
And it's going to become more and more mainstream over time.
Yeah, the Republican Party, it's still fringe. But in the Democratic Party, this is go to a college campus and see what the lefties have to say, not just about Israel, but Jewish people in general.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a clip from that internet legend Vosh, who was saying that. Well, how do you put it? He said, "Support for Israel is the preference of the capital class."
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, okay. Now I see where this is going. This is going to be the socialist revolutionary type, and this is going to be their view." And we've seen it. This is the this is how you explain gays, queers for Palestine, which is inexplicable under any other rubric, right? You have to look at it through this lens.
Well, and doesn't it? You said that these people are lefties, right? Like, doesn't that sound like a lefty when they say, "Oh, you think Tyler Robinson did it? Then you're on the side of the government. Then you must have supported COVID lockdowns."
Yep.
That's exactly how they argue. Where it's like, oh, because I don't think that the government. And again, you could easily go through it, right? You could be like, if the government ever comes out and releases a report that's like, well, Israel did this bad thing, they would all eat it up, right? And I'd be like, oh, that's Fed slop. You're believing Fed slop now? And they would say, well, no. This begrudgingly they had to release. And so it's just pick and choose is all it is.
All the time.
Composition B, $5 on your end, says it was hot as fuck in California today. I was sweating like Candace Owens trying to feed love. Oh man,
savage.
Tinker Tie Powers,
Thank
$5 on Rumble, says I can see why the dinos say you were promised this for how long? Whip crack. Leave the whips and the dinosaurs out of it. 6. Oh, I thought it said SIG, but it's 6G. Member for 5 months. Thank you so much. Says thanks for covering this. I'll use this info, of course.
Happy to
Jefferson.
help.
$2 says insane Candace quotes list may be on Kiwi Farms.
Oh,
that's probably a good resource.
Yeah, that's actually. I bet someone did log all the stuff she said.
I remember I was in Dallas where she put out the episode about literally about the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, and about Charlie Kirk being a gifted professor. And I was like, surely this is it. Right? At this point, surely people are like, wait, what? Wait, what? Time traveling?
Yeah.
Fucking no. Just right on, right, kept plowing through, and it's like,
you'd think someone would be like, did that bitch just say time travel?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
On your end, Joshua Newman, $10
Thanks, buddy.
says, hey, Ryan, I have quite enjoyed your commentary in this case and your insights into the court process. The way Candace is framing it makes it seems like she's never been through anything in the courts.
But of course she has. That's the thing. I don't even know. I'm not even saying that from experience. I'm saying that anybody who runs a business at the scale of Candace's business has some dealings with law, lawyers, litigation. This is just it's a cost of doing business when you get big and famous enough. So I'm not very charitable about that point because I think that she is misrepresenting things on purpose, to be honest. I can't prove that, but if you had to ask, what is my honest opinion? That would be my honest opinion because it seems impossible to me that she is this ignorant about how litigation and law works, given the size and sophistication of her business.
This is breaking. I don't know if breaking's the right word, but this is apparently Candace Owens from today. If this is accurate, let's just play the clip. Here we go.
All right, here we go.
Starts to feel dangerous about it. And I've been saying he's too close to this situation.
Stuck in Ben
Ben
Shapiro.
is just too close to this situation for someone who was not friends with Charlie Kirk. And the panic of which a bunch of influencers then tried to come out and persuade the public that this was normal, that they were all receiving that they're lying through their teeth. Tim Pool is lying through his teeth. He did not receive updates from somebody in that car about Charlie's status. Jeremy Boring, who just wanted to insert himself, jumped in and tried to pretend that it was my security that was getting those updates. I confirmed that is a lie. They said they were not on the phone with anybody.
I don't believe Jeremy Boring said that. I believe Jeremy Boring said, but what she's referencing is Ben Shapiro said that he received an update after Charlie was shot. Her security contacted his security, which would make sense that high-profile conservative people, their security would be in communication because they're worried that this sort of thing could happen to other people.
Well, and there's no reason to believe it was an isolated incident at the time. It could have
Correct.
It could have been a wave of targeted attacks.
Which Jeremy Boring, I believe, if I got my lore right in this, said that they had the same security firm as Candace. Not that it was literally the same people. So she's making it seem like my people didn't get the update. It wasn't them. Jeremy Boring said it was my guys. But that's not what I understood Boring to say. I understood Boring was like, your security firm is like Smith Security, and so's ours. And so, like, or why would you hire this security firm that's in on it, apparently, you know?
Yeah, well, this is a classic kind of like obfuscatory move, right? Where Jeremy Boring says like, well, you're blaming the security company, but you guys had the same security company at that time. You, Ben Shapiro, and you worked for the same firm. And she's like, well, I have Mark and Steve. They're my security. Are you saying Mark and Steve are in on? He's like, I didn't say that. She's like, you liar. And it's like, okay, yeah.
Let's keep going.
That car during those crucial minutes. Okay. Jeremy Boring lied through his teeth. So who on Ben's IDF Israeli Mossad security apparatus team, former IDF,
do you think she means the Jews?
was receiving updates about Charlie's condition and why? And who was Ben Shapiro at lunch with? In fact, I'd like to know so much that if somebody can provide evidence of who he was at lunch with, because I have a hunch.
Oh,
I have
please,
a hunch of who
please
he was
stalk
with in
Ben
LA
Shapiro.
when this
Good.
happened. I will put up $10,000 bounty on that piece of information. Tips at CandaceOwens.com. 10,000 bounty. Just want to know who he was at lunch with, because I don't like this. I know what my gut has told me about the situation from the moment that it took place. I know what beyond my gut and beyond my dreams, the statement from Andrew Colbert, it was supposed to be you. Was it? Was it?
There you have it. So now she's offering 10,000. Candace, I have an idea where you could get that 10,000. Why don't you go debate Andrew Wilson on Brian Atlas's show on the Whatever podcast?
You'll get 160,000.
You'll get 160. That means that you could pay out 16 different people telling you not just who Ben Shapiro was at lunch with, maybe what he had for lunch. Did he tip, right? What kind of beverage did he drink? That's a lot of $10,000 bounties you could put out to find out what. Now notice how this is a complete obfuscation from anything fucking relevant. Did Tyler Robinson do this? Isn't it odd that Ben Shapiro's security got an update? It doesn't sit right with me. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like,
well, I guess my question is, how much proof does she need for the $10,000? Because I'm willing to give as much proof about who he had lunch with that day to support my theory about who he had lunch with that day as she gives to support her claims. Do you think she'll pay me?
here, wait 1 second.
But for those who are not following along, the amount of proof is 0. So do you think she'll pay me for my tip?
Oh shit!
Oh shit! There you go.
Hey, I work at a steakhouse. In a place, and Ben Shapiro came in that day, and I saw him having lunch with Paul McCartney. I did. So I can't give my name or any relevant information, but I will take my $10,000 in crypto. I'll give you a crypto account that you can send, and that'll be good, right? Perfect. I think that's it, right? That's proof. I'll collect my money. Paul McCartney. Look, that wasn't me. That was some guy.
There's a credible tip out there now. That's a credible tip. You can tell it's credible because you couldn't see the guy's face. That's how you know it's credible. That's the mark of credibility.
I don't know. Is Paul McCartney still alive? I hope.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would have heard. Now you got me wondering.
Joel, $20 says, was this in response to Data Republican's tweet to Candace about the DNA evidence?
That's a great account to follow on X,
yes.
by the way.
I don't think it was it may have been, it wasn't directly linked to that, but that's probably where she was responding. Truth Revolt, $5 says, here's a conspiracy for you. The reason Candace is running ops for Trantiva is because she's non-binary. Her pronouns are shit.
Shit.
Very good.
Nice.
Dartho Moss, $20 says, to clarify with the DNA, the implication was that there was DNA from multiple people. Tyler, his father, Twigs. But how could Tyler's be the most degraded if he was the last one to have touched it, I guess? Well, okay. I don't know that that's the case. Let me read from this article that's going through this. That you could be right. But here's the article I found because as Ryan was talking about it, I was looking it up. It says, 5 days after, testimony concludes Robinson preliminary hearing as defense challenges limits of DNA evidence. So here's their limit. Defense called Caitlin Oliver, an ATF DNA section chief, who worked as forensic biologist. Rather than disputing the DNA findings, defense attorney Richard Novak focused on what the evidence cannot reveal. Oliver testified that the DNA testing cannot determine what genetic material was deposited and how it reached an object or whether its presence means someone directly handled the item. To illustrate indirect DNA transfer, Novak offered a hypothetical. If Oliver had a large amount of DNA on her hand and shook his hand, could he transfer this DNA to the trigger of the gun by touching it? It's possible, said Oliver. She also said that DNA testing cannot establish whether someone fired a weapon. The defense used those limitations to argue the presence of Robinson's DNA by itself does not explain when or under what circumstances the rifle it reached the rifle or other evidence. The testimony continued a strategy Robertson's attorney employed throughout the hearing, focusing not only on what the state's evidence showed, but also questions it could not answer. Prosecutors pushed back, emphasizing a number of locations on the rifle where testing supported Robinson as a possible source of the DNA and strength of the statistical findings. Oliver testified that DNA testing was conducted on several parts of the rifle police believe was used to shoot Kirk, including the stock, grips, trigger guard, bolt, barrel, optic, and protected underside of the receiver. Although DNA from multiple people was found on parts of the weapon, Robinson was identified as the person who contributed the largest amount of the DNA in several samples. The strongest statistical finding came from the trigger and trigger guard. Oliver testified the results were at least 1 trillion times more likely if Robinson was the largest contributor to the mixed sample of DNA than if it came from 4 unknown, unrelated people. The calculation may have produced an even higher number, but ATF does not report likelihood ratios above 1 trillion. Prosecutors argue the DNA findings should be considered along with the rest of the evidence.
Just a word about degradation. Degradation doesn't mean what they're saying. There's a common usage of the word degradation, but what they're talking about here is that the testimony was that if you look at DNA samples, it has like peaks, like it's data, right? And that when it's exposed to elements over time, you get degradation, as in it starts to degrade a little bit. But that the testifying agent said that under oath that did not impede her ability to make that connection, and that it was, as she said, 1 trillion to 1 more likely that if Tyler Robinson's DNA was there than if not. So when they say it's more degraded, they're simply saying that when you look at the DNA sample, some of the peaks don't go as high as they used to because of the exposure to the elements and things like this. That doesn't mean almost anything that people are trying to imply with it. Like, are they trying to imply that because Tyler Robinson's DNA was degraded, that he wasn't handling the weapon? Because it's the opposite. He was the biggest contributor. And there's other reasons to think it's his gun. So what they're doing is they're taking a quote deeply out of context, which has a scientific meaning within the literature and within that testimony, and then hoping people will draw conclusions from it that are unwarranted.
Drunken Mage says, but wouldn't it degrade evenly? LOL. I'm no expert, and I could be absolutely wrong about this, but my gut feeling would be no. Different surfaces, for example, if a gun is made up of wood and different types of metal, you would expect DNA probably degrades at different levels, right? Mm-hmm. That would be my guess. I don't know that that's the case, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, or even there could be like DNA that was under the towel versus not under the towel. Remember, the barrel was sticking out. You know, there's all kinds of reasons why one might degrade more than the other. Also, Tyler Robinson was the major contributor, so his DNA was all over the surface. So his if, for example, the towel makes a difference, his DNA might have been on the barrel and Twigs might not have been. So, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why this could be that way, assuming it is that way. I'm just granting that for the sake of talking about it. But it didn't trouble the expert and it didn't impede the analysis. So I think that this is really a bit of a red herring, to be candid with you.
Well, and and the last thing I'll say about it is it didn't trouble the expert, but it troubled the online sleuths.
Yes.
Who probably know next. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe they know a little more than me about this, though I'm skeptical. But it's just like, more degradation from Robinson proves it couldn't have been him. Okay, so then who was it? Twigs? Who was it? His father? His grandpa? So it was one of those four, right? Again, notice they're not disputing that the gun wasn't there. They're just like, well, Robinson wasn't the shooter. Okay, then which of the other people's DNA do you think was the shooter? Now, you could say it's enough to provide reasonable doubt. Fair enough when it comes to a jury. But they're making claims, right, beyond that. We know that he was set up. Okay, how? Well, because there were other people's DNA. Okay, then which one of those people do you think did it? It's just...
but also, you got to remember that when you talk about reasonable doubt, it's based on the totality of the evidence. Right? So it's like, are we actually relying on DNA to prove this was Tyler Robinson's gun? Not really. Like, he had 30-06 rounds at his house, but no 30-06 rifle. And his family gave him a gun, and it was this type of gun. And it was found on the scene with cartridges that he carved and had text messages about carving. And he borrowed a Dremel from Lance Twiggs to carve those cartridges and had text messages with Lance Twiggs about carving them because he was going on a hunting trip with his grandfather's gun. And he texted Lance Twiggs about Grandpappy's gun working, joking about, the murder of Charlie Kirk and how effective the rifle was. So it's not like the DNA is one way to show the gun was his. But if all the DNA was discredited, you could still prove the gun was his. Just the same way you could prove the gun was his before we had DNA evidence.
Yep.
Right? Like this. So again, like this is layers and layers of evidence on top of it. And like, this is a tiny discrepancy. Oh, sorry, a tiny alleged discrepancy within the DNA evidence that I suspect is nothing and is just a red herring. But even if you were to grant it and assume it destroyed all the DNA evidence, it wouldn't even really change the analysis that much because the DNA evidence isn't even really that important.
But good question, Dartho, because it is for the sake of trying to be fair about it, you want to get to the specifics of what their claims are, even if you disagree with them. Catmere, $10 says, "Good day, Rob. Hope you and the family are well. How's the spider farm?" There's not a lot up here. I don't kill spiders in my office. The rest of the house, my wife, she don't have the same policy. But I don't see any up here now. And then he says, "Good day, Ryan. Been enjoying your content with Rob and Andrew. We miss chair."
Well, I mean, I'm happy to help, and I'm no chair, but I'm glad to, give you some commentary. Hope you enjoy.
Craftman Ethos on your end for $10 says, "Candace and those people often don't believe in DNA anyways. They think it's Jewish controlled. Them arguing DNA of the evidence is irrelevant as the foundation is flawed." I've never heard her say that, but I would not be shocked.
Well, they did that with the Cellubrite data extraction. They're like, oh, well, Cellubrite's an Israeli company. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Makes sense. Vita, $2 says, "Even Jimmy Dore believes the BS. Really disappointing." Yeah, I agree. Some of it you're just like, really? Even, I'll be honest, there was one person in real life I talked to, and I was shocked. Like, they were like, no, this is like not an online personality. This is like a person I know in real life that's not involved in politics. Was like, "Hey, I saw you went out and helped Turning Point." And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "How could you? Like, they killed Charlie." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, you don't believe that they weren't involved, do you?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Like, where's your evidence?" And he's just like, I can't talk about it. And I was just, I guess all I'll say is if I sincerely believe that Turning Point killed Charlie, I would not have went and helped them coach debaters. I don't know what else to say. Jason Mulgren on your end, $10 says, "Wait, are y'all saying all black women are actually men?" No, just allegedly. Are we saying that? No, not even allegedly.
Well, but Rob is starting an investigation.
Yes, we're on it.
Podcast coming soon. If you watch out, the when you see the promo art, I think we settled on this. It's going to be a dinosaur with the mustache of an Australian painter and a whip. That's the VTuber that Rob's working on. It's going to be bonkers.
Instead of I'm peeking, or I'm speaking now. It'll be I'm peeking now.
Yeah.
About Jefferson. $2 says Brian Shapiro should ask Candace to show it to him.
I mean, that would his investigative journalism would crack the case, I'm sure.
Mr. B, $20 says Candace literally handed Ben Shapiro a huge W after Daily Wire, having lost revenue and Ben having had his milquetoast ideology be drowned out by true America First conservatives on X. All that progress down the drain. It's a good point. If the wave starts to push back, right, this is a huge blow to like more, I don't know how to put this, outside of the norm type personalities online, because fairly or unfairly, they'll all get lumped in with this. And then maybe people that are more traditional, like Ben Shapiro, if he's able to take a huge W here, makes him look good.
Yep.
Makes his organization look good. And it makes them, ironically, the tide's also moving like on the like, I hate to use this because I'm going to sound like the lamest old man ever, but it's kind of, at this point, it's kind of cool to be like, fuck you, Candace. It's starting to become that, where it's like, you know, before it was cool and hip and edgy to be on the, you know, and now people are pushing back that it's going the other way, I think. But
well, and as this increasingly becomes litigated and goes to court and trial and stuff like this, like, you can hate Ben Shapiro, but you do need to be aware that he is much, much smarter than Candace Owens.
yes.
Like it's not close.
Yeah.
So when it's a propaganda war, Candace Owens is unbelievable at propaganda. She's unbelievable at propaganda. When it becomes an information war, Ben Shapiro gets his edge back. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. It'll be interesting to watch.
Then we have Hellstorm, $10 says, everyone forgets the first conspiracy was Tyler Robinson was a right-wing groiper. As soon as Candace started to just ask questions, that disappeared. But it was first. Also, show me your Candace.
Show me your Candace. Jesus.
Jefferson, I didn't know that they accused him of being a groiper. Jefferson, $2 says, Charlie never threw Candace the bone she wanted. Dude, I will say this, like, not to get salacious. Yeah, part of her talking about him does seem like a forlorn lover, right?
Does.
Or it's kind of creepy. It really is. And I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate, but I would not say it's out of the realm of possibility that she was pining for him and it was never meant to be. Blaster bought $50 says, Your Honor.
Thank you, buddy.
Mr. Mullally, my client, couldn't have committed that crime. At the time, he was eating a whole cheesecake gifted to him by his good friend, Mr. Carnostein, during a meeting with Mr. Hammond about InGen's high-quality Dino Battle simulators. I'm persuaded.
I mean,
Blasterbot, thank you.
Thank you. First of all, that's a big donation, and then also, what a perfect alibi. I mean,
Perfect.
I don't want to give people the idea that you could get away with crimes, but if you had an alibi like this, what could they say?
I'm willing to pay $10,000 to find out who else was at this lunch with Ryan Mullally. What was with John Hammond? By the way, that's a joke. I'm not paying anyone money to see what. Rest in peace, Sam Neill, talking about Jurassic Park. Real bummer. He was a fantastic actor in more movies than just Jurassic Park. But yeah. Decent hour, $5 on your side, Ryan says, Ryan, how would you describe your jurisprudence? Textualism, originalism, institutionalist?
I'm an originalist in the kind of the Scalia mold. So that's who, when I was at law school, Scalia was the one who broke me out of my liberal bubble, as it were. And I count his writings amongst my most formative. So originalism all the way. It's the only correct constitutional theory.
My jurisprudence is I like to yell objection a lot. So that's what.
That's pretty good. That's a sound theory.
It's getting there. I think more people are coming along to it.
Yeah.
So Heavy, thank you so much for becoming a member. We appreciate it. Lavin, $5. Look at this. Says Sam Neill. Too close to, damn, I swear I'm not reading ahead. Got too close to Dinogate and they got him. Rest in peace, Sam Neill.
He understood that Rob had a conspiracy all along, and Rob couldn't let that stand. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Was Rob involved? Can you prove that Rob wasn't involved? I don't know.
Kakashi, $10 says, thanks to Rob and Ryan for helping us sort through this garbage and the noise in modern times. And thank you for giving black women a voice yesterday. I try.
Yeah.
Now I'm accused of giving black women something else.
Well, now now there's 3 black women that you claim are men, Rob. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. On your end, $2, Justice O'Dizzle. Rob and Ryan, for the Colorado lawsuit fund.
We'll save it for the rainy day. I love, by the way, his name's Justin O'Dizzle, but I misread it as Justice O'Dizzle, and he renamed himself to Justice
I've
O'Dizzle.
done that with people too.
Yeah.
Single Dads Club on my end. I screwed that up once. Yeah.
Yeah, Justice O'Dizzle's a phenomenal screen name.
That's a great name.
I'm happy to have helped.
Joshua Newman again, $10. Thanks again. Says soon Candace will make the argument that because the defense lawyers are defending Tyler, that's the proof they're in on the conspiracy. They're just helping the defense. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's what's coming. If the same thing, like just picture this, it goes to a jury, right? Candace will be waiting, and it's Schrodinger's jury, right? If the jury comes back and says not guilty, she's gonna be like, defense was amazing, great dudes. Same arguments made, the same defense. Jury comes back and says guilty. They were in on it.
Yeah.
They're Jews too, right? The exact same. It would be the exact same arguments in defense, and that's how ridiculous.
It really is
be.
rewarding crazy people, though. Like when I read it, when you're in law school, you read a lot of cases, and one of them I read was this absolute lunatic asylum of a case where this guy had sued every Supreme Court justice, every justice in, I think it was the DC Circuit, half of the DC District Court judges, a handful of senators. I think he sued Trump. No, it wasn't Trump. It was, I think it was Obama and Eric Holder and like a bunch of, like, he sued every prominent person in the administration and every branch of government was sued in this lawsuit. And here was his theory. He claimed that he should have won a case. And then when he lost the case, he alleged that he lost the case because the judge was interested in him sexually and raped him. Now, of course, that's not true. But then when the judge dismissed that case, he was like, oh, you know what happened? The judge who dismissed my case also was sexually interested in me and raped me. And then that one got dismissed. So then he was like, well, they're all in on it.
It's a whole cabal.
So, and like over time, it was like the entirety of the Supreme Court, including the women, Eric Holder, Obama. Now everybody's fucking raping this guy. And but it's the exact same logic. It's like they're all in on it, Rob. They're all in on it.
He should have hammed it up and like came in with like one of those cushioned donuts he's sitting on, like he can barely walk. Like, oh my God, Your Honor, you're not going to believe what happened again yesterday.
They just can't get enough of my sweet ass. I don't know what that. Yeah,
I must be the most desirable man in the world.
But then, like, to make the obvious point, because what the court eventually did is they said, like, you're not allowed to sue anymore. You need to get a lawyer who's willing to represent you. You can't sue on your own because this isn't working out. And they sanctioned him for the obvious reason that none of that happened. None of that happened. And at a certain point, you just have to like, okay, yeah, the defense is in on it too. Yeah, the defense is in on it with multiple agencies, a few foreign governments. They're all in on it. Okay, no.
Fly Guy over on Rumble for $2 says, curious, how's Ryan's back doing?
Thank you. It's a lot better. I made these vicious mistakes. Sitting and watching the hearing and being like a middle-aged dude, I fucked my back up with my shitty posture and like I lifted. Some people know my wife is pregnant. I lifted some things I shouldn't have lifted during a break. Anyway, I like threw my back out during Thursday of the coverage. So then I've got to sit there in like agony and watch 4 more hours. And I made the mistake of making a comment in front of the Crucible. And then it was just like, and then it's like a boring part of the hearing too. So then it's like, all right, well, is the Crucible going to watch like this really boring testimony? Or are they just going to call me a bitch for an hour and a half? And it's like, it turns out calling me a bitch is way funnier. So
well,
yeah,
he proceeds to say, has the Pilates been helping? Be careful doing Pilates in heels.
I assume you're here from the Crucible. Thank you for the support.
Jefferson, $5 on your end says, as I recall, Karen Reed's first trial defense was heavy on the conspiracy and only got a mistrial. Second went hard on the dog shit evidence and won. Karen Reed. What was that case?
I gotta do more pop law. A, people seem to like it, but B, I didn't follow Karen Reed closely enough, so I don't want to comment because I just don't know.
But Matt Flynn, $10 says, are we going to get an edit of you roasting Ryan last night? My editor, Black Elk, will probably be on. I went pretty hard in the paint. I was like, I don't know why Ian Carroll and this Tom guy won't debate Ryan. He can't even turn his fucking mic on. Clearly, he's an imbecile. They could beat him in this debate, right?
Did you see what my editor did?
No,
He put up a members only clip. It has like a clickbait thumbnail. It's like, this changed my life, and it's just me muted for 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just the whole anyway. Yeah,
yeah, it's powerful. It's very inspiring.
Powerful.
Bobby Ballbag says, "With Jews, you win." That's
fair enough.
That sounds like a Mel Brooks quote. I'm giving that. I don't know. Bobby Ballbag's $5 goes. A wise king once said, "Nothing bad can happen. It can only good thing happen."
Oh, that sounds like a wise king. Maybe Solomon.
Jacqueline Brennan, $2 says, CO said I went EK.
Erica Kirk.
CO, what am I missing? Candace Owens. I'm sorry.
Candace
What a fucking idiot. Candace Owens said, I want Erica Kirk to be saved so she could live and suffer. She did say that.
That's gross.
She did. She was like, I want her to live a long life so she could live tormented with what she did. I saw Nick Fuentes talking about this because Nick's like, people give me shit because I was like, what the fuck's Erica Kirk doing with all these fireworks and stuff? I don't think that's cool. He's like, that's a far cry from, I hope she lives a long time and is tortured by what she did. He's like, those are different levels of fucked up. So, yeah, I mean.
That's a deeply fucked up thing to say.
Jefferson, $2 says, the Middle East and Vosh really like their goats.
They do share a predilection.
J.W. Thorpe, $10 says, Ben Shapiro should call in the tip and demand the payment. That would be
a good idea. Holy shit, that's a good idea. If anyone at the Daily Wire watches this show, I don't think they do, but if they do, that is gold content. That is literally incredible content. They should do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Let's see, where was I? Captain here. $10 says, Ryan, as an Australian, I approve of the Aussie dinosaurs. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Can we call it Bruce or Shayla?
Oh, okay. Well, look, I think that Bruce or Sheila gets into dinosaur gender ideology. And I'm not a paleontologist, nor am I a biologist, so I don't know if I can weigh in on that one.
See, like names like this, it's clearly Da Vinci now, but I'm like,
Davin cow. Yeah, I know. It's
Da Vinci now, $10 says, I know people, this is on your end, by the way. I know people probably have asked this, but it's Candace Owens set herself up for multiple lawsuits once the Tyler Robinson's trial's over.
Maybe.
Look, it could be before the trial's over as well. Now, I could be mistaken, but the one security guy, Harpole, he has sued Candace already. And Candace had said, great, I can't wait for discovery, and then filed a motion to dismiss. So take that for what you will, but she was like, bring it on. Yeah, because can you explain this briefly? If someone sues you and says that you've defamed them, the truth is a defense. So you could ask for discovery, like, I want to see your records because I think you actually did what I'm accusing you. So she's like, good, if he sues me, then I get access to records that will prove what I'm saying is correct. But then she filed a motion to dismiss before discovery, which would imply maybe she's not as competent as she claimed when it came to Mr. Harpole. So if he did it, I'll leave you speak on this for a second. I'm going to look that up. I'm 95% sure that's true. But it's not outside the realm of possibility that Andrew Colvett or Erica Kirk or Turning Point as an organization themselves could file a lawsuit even before the trial's over.
It's totally possible. So in order to make, I spoke on this a little bit earlier, but to make out a defamation claim, the key issues are going to be that she said something that is false, meaning it can't be an opinion. It has to be a factual issue, like something that could be true or false and is false. And then because they're all public figures, it had to have been said with actual malice, meaning that she was lying when she said it. She knew she was lying. So you're going to have to prove malice and like that bad intention as well. So when you think about the things that she said, like, Erica, let's say she said Erica Kirk's in on it. You could probably sue for that ahead of time because there's no real evidence that Erica Kirk's in on it. And there's no real reason for her to believe that she's in on it. You probably don't need a jury trial to conclude beforehand, though for strategic reasons and for PR, whatnot, Turning Point might choose not to do that because that would kind of be, I'm not sure that'd be the right move strategically for them, but they in theory, they could. Other claims that are more specific to the evidence in the case and would require proving falsehood about facts asserted in the case would be harder to sue on before the facts have been developed, because it would be harder to prove falsehood. So it would kind of depend a little bit about which defamatory facts were at issue.
So this is just the AI reading of the Harple, but we're not making an opinion on it really. It says that the lawsuit was filed April 30th, 2026 in U.S. District Court in Tennessee by Brian Harple, who was the head of security for Charlie Kirk. He sued Candace Owens and her companies, and the person that allegedly fed her info. The main claim is Harple accuses Owens of spreading false conspiracy theories that he helped plot or was involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination in September 2025. Specifically, she allegedly claimed that he met with Kirk's widow, Erica, and Army intelligence officers at Fort Huachuca the day before the shooting. Harple says this is fabricated, damaged his reputation, and caused emotional distress. So if this is true, it sounds like he's saying one of the things she said that's blatantly false is I met and planned this at this location on this day, and I could prove I was never anywhere close to that. And so that's like a specific actionable claim, as opposed to her just being like, I feel he acted weird. She's saying he did this on this day, and he's like, no, I didn't. Bullshit. And I could prove I didn't.
Yeah.
So
it's a specific factual falsehood.
So Scott Hotbed on your end becomes a member.
Always
Thank you so
appreciate
much,
the members. Enjoy the emotes, my friend.
Hellstorm $10 says, Rob, you were actually in a debate with that British guy that Rachel also debated that 100% believed that Robinson was a right-wing Kuiper. Watched it live. He also denied Butler. Yeah. I vaguely remember this now. Yeah, that guy was...
Destiny still says he's probably a right-winger.
There we got Justice. So Dizzle on your end again. $5 is CO equals Kansas.
Not Colorado.
I was like, what the fuck Colorado court case do we have going?
Yeah, I thought we were going. Well, and it's funny because the Colorado court case is the 9-0 one, so that goes back to the.
Oh, right. Yeah, with Destiny.
I was trying to figure out if they were making a joke about that, but
someone needs to sue her. So ordered for the fun. I will not be suing Candace Owens. I'll tell you that right now.
Got to bring some deep pockets for that lawsuit.
Yeah. Dartho Moss, $50. Thank you, man.
Big red
Great.
dono. Look at that.
Says, LOL, sorry. This is the last thing on the DNA. She wasn't arguing the gun wasn't his, but because the DNA degradation, someone else whose DNA is on the gun must have planted it. And to be clear, I'm not defending. Yeah, I knew you weren't defending.
Yeah. But the thing is, the analysis was, even with the degradation, it is 1 trillion times more likely that it's Tyler Robinson's DNA than someone else's. So this is what I mean by it's a red herring. Like, the degradation is factored in. If there was no degradation, it would be more than 1 trillion, right? And
I don't even. Let's assume that. Okay, that even if we assume this, then what's the theory? One of the 3 other people whose DNA was on the gun planted it. So either Twiggs or the grandfather or the father planted the gun to frame. I like, why? Because they're working with Israel or turning, but like all of this, the coincidences then that would be necessary when you factor in the other evidence, right? So that's just like, what is happening? Let's assume it was Lance Twiggs for the sake of argument. I'm not accusing him, but right. What's Lance Twiggs say? Like, hey, you know what you ought to do? Just write me some fanfic about fucking not liking Charlie Kirk and then drive to that fucking campus. Fuck it. Just on a whim. Just drive. Wouldn't that be cool? And then it's like, yes, now that the exploding microphone, now I'll plant the gun that couldn't have possibly had the exit wound. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
it hurts your head to even think about the stupidity. Now, again, I don't blame a defense from trying to cast anything. If there's fucking, at 1/1 trillionth of a chance that DNA is someone else's, of course a good defense is going to say, hey, we're trying to cast doubt. But as a theory that you're trying to develop as a streamer, it's like, what are you saying then? I don't know.
There was a great moment where in one of the, I forgot which object it was, but for one of the DNA objects, the defense was cross-examining the agent who did the examination of the DNA. And he said, like, well, isn't it true that every time you run it, you get slightly different numbers? You never get exactly the same numbers when you do these DNA tests. And she's like, yeah, that's true. It can be off by up to 10 times, the variation of up to 10x. And he's like, well, 10x is a lot. It seems like, you could be 10 times different. So there's a lot of variation. And she goes, well, it kind of depends on what you mean by that. Like, one time I ran it and it was 30 quintillion to 1 that it was Tyler Robinson. And the next time I ran it, it was 8 quintillion to 1 that it was Tyler Robinson. But like,
I guess 8 in quintillion and 30 quintillion are off by a lot.
Yeah.
But in the scale of like, yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, yeah, that is 10x, but 8 quintillion, like, there aren't a quintillion people on planet Earth, for context. So when she says it's like 8 quintillion to 1, that means that like the odds of this being another person are greater than the odds than the total number of people on Earth to compare this to, right? Like, so like, okay, DNA, there's a science, there's degradation, there's variations, there's processes, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the odds are extraordinarily high, and all of this was factored in by actual DNA people who know how to do this, not you or me or Candace.
Big Daddy Pod, $5 says, wife is pregnant, but I threw my back out with bad posture. Never say that again. Makes you sound old, and they, them.
Well, okay, I'll take old. I'll take old. It does make me sound old because I'm a middle-aged dude. I don't know how having 2 kids and a third on the way and a happy marriage makes me sound they, them. I think you're going to have to do like, I think that's, if you're going to talk about like classic American right-wing values, I think having a large family is like chief among them.
That's
so
like,
let's back the fuck off that one.
What's it, Andrew Tate? There was the clip of him be like, having sex with women is gay. It's like,
well,
oh shit.
What was that great Guy Ritchie? It was a Guy Ritchie movie, right? Where they had there was a gay British gangster. They go, fucking females is for puffs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? I know the one you're talking about, but all right, here we go. Truth Revolt. $10 says, nice try, not knowing the Karen Reed case. So people donate more explaining what it is. Don't fall for it, people. I'm still clueless. Karen Reed, the name sounds familiar.
If only someone would give me like 20 or 30 bucks to tell me about it, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah. Sometimes when that happens, like it's seeing that color, like the pink donation on Ryan's side. If that comes up, I'm sure it would refresh his memory. I think that's 50 or higher.
It would refresh my recollection.
Yes. Bo Dizzle on your end, $5 says, with doxing, radicalization, and baseless conspiracy theory, mobs getting worse, is there a case for new defamation laws tailored to the internet?
It's tricky.
I would hesitate. Like, I still think that we should err on the side of letting people say shit. That we should, not have too heavy of a hand with this type of shit. But there certainly comes a point where it's like a line is crossed. I don't know that necessarily it's creating new laws that would be necessary as opposed to just having people, maybe, Elon's talked about this before. Like, he's like, if you ever get sued for posts you made on X, I'll back you. Maybe it'll take just some wealthy independent dudes to be like, look, we'll have a fund that if people are saying fucked up shit like this, that will help you out. But I hesitate to say any new law that would impact speech.
I don't like the trend. And it's weird because like as a lawyer, it's actually potentially something that like could be good for the industry. But like, I don't like the trend that's happening in these spaces now where like streamers are increasingly suing each other. And you're seeing it because it used to be like a fringe business, but now there's money in it. And when there's money in it, people start litigating. And look, that's good for lawyers. That's how we make our living. But at the end of the day, I think the right way to solve these problems is for people to get a better bullshit detector. And I think we will. Like right now, this is all new, so people are having a harder time. But over time, I think we'll start getting better at figuring out who to listen to and who not to.
Dude, it would fucking suck. It would suck to just get sued for like defamation or something if you didn't do anything. That would fucking blow.
That sounds like it would suck.
I can't imagine. I don't necessarily know that I'd want to make that more common. Dan Vicious, $1 on Rumble, says, what about Jay on Tucker? I did not watch it, so I can't comment. For Jay Dyer, regardless of what you think of Tucker Carlson, it has a big audience. Good for Jay, getting access to
that's a big get for Jay for sure.
And I think that he talked a lot about orthodoxy, so that's cool. But I've not seen any of it, so I can't comment. Adam Adamant, $5 says, Ryan, is it possible that someone like Candace can compromise the jurors and cause a mistrial?
Unlikely. It is theoretically possible, but unlikely. What happens in a case like this is they're going to call in hundreds of potential jurors. It's going to be a lot of people. And they're going to give them like a long questionnaire about all the potential biases. And like, they're going to screen for stuff like this in during the questionnaire. And then they're going to have voir dire, and they're going to narrow the jury pool down, narrow it down, narrow it down, narrow it down, narrow it down. And then this is a capital case. So in order to get on the jury, it has to be a death qualified jury. That means they have to answer the question like, if you were to find him guilty, this man guilty of a capital crime, could you find it within yourself to put him to death? And they have to say yes. So the juror pool is going to get so narrowed down that it's unlikely that the influence of someone like a Candace is going to have an influence on the jury ultimately. It is possible, of course, but even if it were possible, it would be unlikely. It would be very hard for it to cause a mistrial because, like in a situation where somebody just lied and got on the jury by lying, how would you find out? How would you find that out? It would be a very strange situation where a mistrial occurred. It's possible, but it's very unlikely.
Zach Kelpie, what's up, man? 10 months a member says the movie was layer cake. That's
Holy shit,
right.
it was layer cake. That movie was so good.
That's what got Daniel Craig, James Bond.
Yeah.
He was very good in that.
Oh, that was such a good movie. For those who haven't seen it, have you seen, Rob, you've obviously seen it. Mm-hmm. My favorite scene, spoilers, so if you don't want to hear this, fucking cover your ears. There's the deadly sniper Dragon is chasing Daniel Craig's character and calls him on his cell phone. He wakes up and he's like, "This is Dragon." And he goes, "Okay, Dragon, I know you want your drugs back. I want to help you out. You know what? There's a coffee place. It's right down the street from me. Why don't we meet there and I'll give you back your merchandise? Do you have my address?" And Dragon goes, "No." And he goes, "Well, fuck off then," and hangs up. It's so good.
Yeah. That's a good book. I saw a clip the other day. I can't remember the movie, but it was it's not even worth talking. It was a great clip though. It was a guy, it was the Billboards movie, something Billboards out of. I always thought it was a weird title, never watched it, but the clip I saw was awesome, where the police officer just walks in and beats the shit out of this guy, and it's like a single shot. I was very impressed, but it reminded me of some of those old Richie movies, like with just the intensity.
Yeah.
Watermelons, $5 on your end says, please tell me you all saw the clip of Candace telling our producer to cut the clip right before the ATF agent explained the odds of being Tyler. Okay. I saw it was suggested, but I didn't watch the clip. Let's see if we can bring it up to some degree. I did, as I was scrolling here, as we were talking, I saw, okay, here's the clip. Well, why not? One more Candace Funzy here.
Why not?
So this is what the poster says. This is from Natalie Jean Bisner. Says, watch Candace intentionally lie to her audience, tell her producer to cut the clip before it debunks the narrative she's trying to sell. On the left is Candace right before she tells her producer, I don't think we need this. Watch her eyes flicker back and forth for about 10 seconds before she's becoming more and more panicked, wondering if she has to say something. Then she tells her producer to cut it. The part she wanted to cut in the right is the ATF analyst testifying to just how likely it is the DNA by and large belongs to Tyler Robinson. After the clip is cut, Candace tells her audience that the analyst couldn't say whether his DNA was found on the trigger or the trigger guard, which is not true. She testifies how DNA is found on a number of places on the gun, including the trigger guard. At no point does she say it wasn't on the trigger guard. The clip on the right's a lot longer, but necessary for the full context. So here's a clip on the left.
And we've had some talk, some testimony from you and some questions for you about the likelihood ratios. What was your conclusion as to the likelihood ratio that you analyzed in this question, calculation number 3?
I don't think we need this.
The DNA profile was at least one.
Okay, so you heard her say that his was the most degraded of the firearms, and she's talking about the trigger guard and the trigger. She's not sure where they got the sample from, and that's a huge difference because they kept saying that his DNA was on the trigger, and she's admitting it could be the trigger guard. That's just that's.
And then this is
where on the firearm did you find evidentiary support for the inclusion of Tyler Robinson?
There were several locations. I'd have to refer to my report.
Okay, would you look at your report? And this is, it looks like report number, or exhibit number.
Now remember,
30.
Candace said she said it wasn't the trigger. It might have been the guard.
Yeah, it couldn't tell. Candace said they couldn't tell where it was, which of course is nonsense. They could tell.
correct?
Correct.
Sorry, I was skipping ahead to see if we.
Where on page number 2, please, of that firearm?
Rifle, swabs of the trigger and trigger guard of rifle with possible ridge detail / smudging. The swabs of the bolt of the rifle with possible ridge detail.
So there you hear it. And I'm sure we could, I'm not going to go through the full 5-minute clip at this point, but yeah.
Well, and at the end, she goes on to say it's 1 trillion to 1.
Right. So that's where Candace is cutting it. Candace cuts it off right before that. She's like, 1 trillion to 1, because she doesn't want our audience to know that. Instead, she focuses on an irrelevant detail. Well, maybe it was more degraded than the other DNA they have, but it's still 1 trillion to 1.
Mm-hmm.
But she's just like, oh, we don't need to hear the 1 trillion to 1 part. Just know that it's more degraded, which means it couldn't have been him. So, yeah, I mean, you're right to point it out. I did see it, but I didn't know in the 5-minute clip where it was. So, F it button, $5 says, what is wrong with you guys? 8 quintillion is to 1 is only 1 million times the world population to 1. This isn't worth questioning. I don't know what it is.
I mean, that's a fair point. That's what could they couldn't even get to 9 quintillion? Only 8?
Pretty weak.
Yeah.
Pretty weak. Justice O'Dizzle, again, $5 on your end, says, assuming standard course of action and no setbacks, will Tyler serve the ultimate sentence before Carmelo is released?
Well, so this is one of the weird things about the death penalty in our country now is that it's very, very hard to put someone to death. You can assume that they're going to appeal and file habeas petitions for years. So I mean, I think the trial will probably take place in 2027. It might be summer, might be fall 2027. It could take a while. And once that's done, we don't know, but the odds are good he'll be convicted. But he might not be put to death for 10 years after that.
And then
sorry, just to say this, it's all fucked up to think about, but like the reason that there's a weirdness there is that like he's going to get a lot more years than Charlie did, even if he's convicted.
Well, here's the thing, too. Utah, you never know. One of the things about the death penalty is you've had states that have sentenced people to the death penalty and then changed the law in the state to remove the death penalty, which permanently, because someone's waiting 15, 20 years, they end up getting taken off the death penalty, even if the state changes and then changes back. Because that's considered cruel and unusual, right? If you're sentenced to death and then the state says no more death penalty.
There's a lot of ways. Death penalty is very complicated. And look, to be fair, you really do want the state to have to go through all the process before they kill someone. So like I'm not criticizing the process for being difficult, but it is very difficult, and a lot can happen between now and then. I would like to think that no matter what happened politically, no governor would pardon him, but that's another possibility if you got like a real crazy governor in place. So these are all things that are worth, watching as time passes.
Robert Whaley, 20 months, man. Thank you. Says the Gentleman and Rock and Roller were good too. I've seen Rock and Roller. That's a Guy Ritchie, and it was good. The Gentleman, I don't know if I know.
That's the one with the guy from Sons of Anarchy, right?
Oh. The main guy.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Whatever his name is.
Charlie Hunnam?
Yes, Hunnam.
Yeah.
Hunnam.
No, I haven't heard of that one. I'm just a spectator. $5 on your end.
Spectating.
Spectating.
I mean, that makes sense. That checks out.
Can I ask you a question? I'm just a If you don't want to answer, that's fine. But who are you eating lunch with on the day of September 10th, 2025? Just curious. I have a hunch. I was just wondering if I knew.
Yeah,
and if the answer is correct, I may be $10,000 richer. I'm taking a shot in the dark here. Yeah, but my gut's telling me,
You seem like the kind of guy who'd be having lunch with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
just saying.
Just saying. And then Robert Whaley, $5 says both are Guy Ritchie films. Yeah. I still remember Lock, Stock was the first. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Well, Rob, this is going to stun you, and I can't believe this is the case, but we went an hour over, as we are wont to do, and nobody called in to debate whether or not there's overwhelming evidence against Tyler Robinson. Isn't that strange?
Weird. We had Alishness call in just to say that we're shitheads, but didn't disagree with us. Yeah, I mean, look, again, two things can be true at the same time. In the grand scheme of things, Ryan and me are sort of small fish, maybe medium-sized fish at this point. And we're not, no one's entitled to talk, or we're not entitled for someone to talk to us. But it's indicative of something greater, which is that these people don't want to defend their beliefs. Not against me, not against Ryan, not against Andrew, not against anybody who's out there seriously talking. They're happy to do it in their little safe, literal spaces where there's a bunch of them puffing each other up and they could yell and scream over you. But to actually have like a civilized conversation, not interested. They're just not. And they'll use every excuse. Well, we had 22,000 people watching Baron Coleman. Great. I feel great for you, you know?
But look, like we're not the biggest fish. I totally admit that, but there's fish smaller than us. There's lots of people with smaller YouTube channels, smaller X accounts who want to get platformed, who want to have a conversation, and who talk a lot about how much they disagree. I know because they were in the X spaces with Andrew, like that, Uncle Tom character and whatnot. So, like it's just interesting that none of them showed up.
Not surprised. Oh, we got another super chat sneaking in. Da Vinci, now on your end, $5 says, do you think Candace Owens will interview Tyler after the trial? That should be on Polymarket.
Oh my God. I doubt it. Because the thing about that is that could go off the rails so hard for her. Right? Because like at that point after the trial, I don't like if it goes the way I think it's going to go, Tyler's probably going to be in like throw myself on the mercy of the court mode. Like I don't think he's going to be, because you're not going to be in conspiracy mode at that point. You're going to be in like, oh my God, please don't kill me mode. Like, so I doubt it. I think she's going to want to stay the hell away from that. But if she did, that would be cinema. But that could go off the rails for her.
Well, the thing, we'll just bring up this. Scott Hotbed becomes a member in your channel for a month, says, Candace is such a wild bingo card. What's next? Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Right? Because there will eventually be movement on from this. And, look at her career trajectory, working with Turning Point, the Blexit thing, then the Daily Wire, now just this independent stuff. I mean, it's so freaking weird how some of this goes. You remember when Megyn Kelly was doing the Trump debate in like 2016, where she's like clutching her pearls, like, you say mean things about women. Yeah. And Trump was like, only Rosie O'Donnell, right? It was like this viral clip. Right now, Megyn, look at the arc she's had from like 2016 to then becoming like super trad, like, these woke people, to then like, I don't know, maybe Candace has a point. Now she's out there, Megyn's out there today that's sort of like, come on now, it's time to admit, Tyler Robinson. But she's still not really criticizing Candace. So if you look at the arcs of some of these people, it's just like go where the grift takes you, I guess. So I don't think it would be beyond the realm of possibility to 4 years from now see Candace Owens on a live stream being like, I don't get where all these people that are yelling about Jews all the time are coming from. Come on, what are you talking? And that is not outside the realm of possibility. and you'll be sitting there like, what the fuck? How is this the same person?
People said I was hard on Turning Point USA. I think they're misrepresenting things. I was always a fan of the.
I was Erica's biggest supporter, and I knew people were going to attack her. And so if I was the one out there, I knew I could protect her, and it would be able to. The truth would come out that she was innocent, and that's what I was doing. I could see that. Shit.
I was helping. My investigation was to unearth all the potential issues ahead of time. I was being the good soldier. I was undercover. You just didn't know I was undercover. Yeah, of course.
So, just a spectator. $5 is
Illinois. Spectator. Well, it sounds like I'm $10,000 richer.
Yeah. On your end, Jason Mulgren, $5 says, 1, Alice just called you pussies. That's true. 2, right. Do we in the U.S. accept the death penalty as punishment for someone calling you a pussy? Oh, no. I'm sorry, I misread that. The death penalty is a punishment more than most other countries.
More than most European countries. Not more than like most countries on Earth, but more than most European countries. Yeah. Yes, a lot of European countries have moved away from the death penalty. But a lot of Europe has moved towards some policies that have proven not to be working so well overall. So I wouldn't necessarily put too much stock in that.
Yeah, isn't it funny? But this is totally off what we're talking about. But I always find it funny, particularly the left, but maybe the right as well. You can make this criticism, and I'm just biased. The shit that we'll compare ourselves to Europe for, right? Like, their healthcare system, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, how about voter ID? No, yeah. We can't get, we can't make that comparison. It's like,
Well, and the funny one with the healthcare system is it's like that aged real badly. They're like, oh, Britain has this great healthcare system. Canada has this great healthcare system. And then it was like, all the people who were saying like, oh, well, the socialists run out of money eventually. It takes some time, but they've just been proven correct. Like the healthcare system in those countries is degrading rapidly because it is inefficient and it's not based off sound capitalist principles. So it is what it is.
My favorite was, right, well, you see, in the United States, all healthcare is for profit. So it's a bunch of scams, blah, 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 but not with socialized medicine, like the NA or whatever the hell it's called over in United Kingdom, right? So then when the United Kingdom came out and was like, we're going to stop giving hormones to trans children. And I was like, oh, look at their superior healthcare system. And then watching these lefties be like, no, that's why they're not for profit over there. Not like here where people are making money hand over fist. Right? So they're making what they think. That's not true. They've been infiltrated, the damn Tories. It's like, ha, ha, ha. That's all you needed to have happen to criticize their healthcare system. You could have said here till you're blue in the face and be like, but there's 2-year waiting list. We don't give a shit about that. But as soon as it's like, oh, they don't want to chop off, children's genitals. We can't have this. There are significant problems with this healthcare system,
Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it, Rob?
F it button real quick says, in the meantime, there are some small victories, like how their towel had DNA of 2 males. This was not contested, other than qualifications. Yeah.
I will say it's not like the biggest point in terms of like guilt or innocence, but the moment where Tyler Robinson saw Lance Twiggs is in Luna garb, and not in the Luna persona, but long hair, but wearing a suit and like presenting as a guy. And he looked distraught. Now, maybe that was because Lance Twiggs was testifying against him. But when I saw it, my first thought was this guy probably killed Charlie Kirk because of his beliefs about trans people. I think he did it for trans justice. That seems to be the best explanation. And he's seeing his lover show up as a guy. And he looked distraught.
I saw someone I can't take credit for this, but it's very good. It's like Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, and then Lance Twiggs started watching a bunch of Charlie Kirk videos and became a man again. So in death, Charlie Kirk killed Tyler Robinson's girlfriend.
That's rough. That's
that's look, and like one of the things, just to nip one conspiracy theory. What's up with Lance Twiggs? I saw Tim Dillon saying it. What's up with Lance Twiggs? Like, he seemed to be pretty eager. Yeah, motherfucker. If you're looking at possibly being an accessory to an assassination, you'd probably be pretty eager to cooperate with law enforcement and be like, whoa, because in my head, shit like this could happen, right? Like, I've seen this happen, and I do try to nip this in the bud in my channel, but people talk big. Well, this country needs a fucking revolution, and maybe you be talking with your buddies like that playing poker, and then all of a sudden one of your buddy bombs a fucking building and kills 100 people.
Yeah,
you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
Like Destiny's moderator who was like,
right.
Oh, there's a school shooter vibe happening. Yeah. No. This is a real thing. It's a very real thing. So yeah, I mean, it's important to tell your community, we're talking about politics, but we don't want school shooter vibes, and hopefully people are responsible about that.
Yeah, and so if that does happen, you should be very careful. My rule of thumb: don't talk like that, even as a joke, because you never know. Assume that all of your messages that if you're in some Discord and there's some dude talking like that, probably the feds are going to find out at some point. Just assume that's safest. Stay the fuck away from that shit. But if you find yourself in that situation, Lance Twiggs made the right decision, right? To be like, whoa, what the fuck is what it seems like to me. He probably felt bad, and part of it, he probably was like, on one hand, I don't want my fucking, I don't know what he considered boyfriend or whatever to get arrested. But on the other hand, this is horrible and it's going to take me down. And as soon as it became clear that law enforcement had a track, I guarantee that this dude was like, I can't fucking wait to say whatever I need to disassociate myself from any potential criminality.
Yeah. And the other thing is, even setting aside, whether they were going to charge him as an accessory after the fact or something like this. They had him dead to rights on destruction of evidence because the note was evidence and he burned it. Right. So like they have him dead to rights on minor crimes.
Right.
So, like when people are like, oh, he's eager to cooperate, get immunity. I'm like, fuck yeah, he is. Like Tyler Robinson just, more than likely killed a guy and now is going to face a death penalty. He could be involved. He could be facing more serious charges. But even if he's not facing more serious charges, he is facing criminal charges if he doesn't cooperate. Hell yeah, he's eager to get immunity and to not go to jail over the idiotic things that Tyler Robinson did. Like, of course. So,
one more. I didn't get this one, but Justice O'Dizzle on your end, $5 says, just wait for the ultimate to get reinstated once the M's take over Europe.
The ultimate to get reinstated?
Muslims, I'm guessing M. The ultimate.
The ultimate.
It's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
Just wait for the ultimate to get reinstated. Help us out, Justice.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm lost. I don't know.
Well, when the ultimates take over, Rob, I'm pretty sure you'll know. So
hopefully the ultimate sends super chats.
It'll be in the fullness of time. This will become clear.
3 hours, 15 minutes. We're an hour and 50 minutes over, but that's okay. What do you have planned for the rest of the week?
Okay. Blessedly, the hearing is not going on, so I have a little bit more time on my hands. But on Thursday is debate night. So Thursday, I'm going to be going on Admiral Gibbs' show with my buddy, potentially criminal Sean, and we're going to be defending the prompt. The left are lawless and tyrannical.
Who are you debating? Do you know?
There's been some shifts around.
Okay.
I think tomfoolery and somebody else at this point, but I'm not entirely sure. But it should be fun. It should be a good time. We're going to get to talk about some of the stuff we talk about in this show. So it should be some greatest hits for the fans, but also a good, clean, fun debate. So tune in for debate night on Thursday. What about you, Rob?
Sean is very good, by the way. I'm a big fan of Sean as well, too. So that will be good. I have my normal streams going on all week. So I'll be doing the extravaganza on the Crucible's Rumble channel. It's Rumble exclusive, 5:30 to 6:30 all week until Thursday. And then 10 p.m. over here on Normal America with Rob Noor, regular show. Thursday, I believe I also have a debate, a no prep debate, where I don't know the topic or who I'm debating. So I think that's going to be this Thursday. I will, however, be trying to chum people in to debate me or Ryan on this topic. And either of us would be willing to debate or be moderators. So I might hit you up, Ryan, and be like, what are you doing Wednesday night? If we can find a debate.
If we can find someone to debate, yeah, I'm not going to plan my schedule around it because no one ever shows up. I put up clickbait the other night, like after the hearings, I was like, lawyer does wrap up. And I just got into that like feud with people on X about this shit. And I was like, call-in show. And it's like, I figured people would be calling in to tell me what an asshole I am. Crickets. Do a call-in show tonight. Crickets. Nobody wants to debate this. So look, if you can find people who want to actually have a real debate about this, I would be delighted. I will make the time. But in my experience, they don't show up. So we'll see.
Right. Just in case you're wondering, Ryan's channel is Natural Law with Ryan Mullally. I'll put the link up.
Yeah, and if you're in my side, when we end stream, I'm rating you over to Rob, which I'm told guarantees 2 whip songs. So if Rob,
I think that's bullshit.
If
I don't
Rob
know who
tells
told
you that
you
me
that.
rating to him does not guarantee you whip songs, you tell him that's not the letter of the law, and don't
That's
take no for
bullshit.
an answer.
That's bullshit. Whoever said that is a lying. Oh my goodness. This will be my ultimate downfall. Candace Owens will be like, just go over to Rob Noor's channel and just talk about whip songs. I'll be like, no. So, well, Ryan, it's always a pleasure. I know we only talked about one topic. There is a lot else going on, but I think it's very important to talk about this topic based on the stakes as we've mentioned. So,
yeah, absolutely pleasure, Rob.
Ultimate consequence for crime, $2. Thank you, Justice.
Thank you, Justice O'Dizzle. That makes a lot more sense.
Waiting for the death penalty be reinstated when Muslims take over Europe is what he was saying. So,
ironically, with Sharia law, there's a lot of death penalties. So, yeah.
Chap and Grow
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. Yeah, and by the way, Rob, if there's a, I don't know what the extravaganza is like this week, but if there's a day where you're solo or you want some backup, give me a buzz.
I will do so. All right, Ryan, you take it easy, man. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure, Rob. See you later.
See you.